Chapter 2566. Under the control of Du Xiaofu's will, the mysterious energy in the desolate ancient space surged and swept towards the dragon desolate patriarch. He was unable to unleash his cultivation of the sage stage and could only be manipulated by Du Xiaofu. Roar! The roar of a beast shook the void. A burst of golden light shone brightly, covering the two figures, causing the dragon desolate patriarch to feel a burning pain in his eyes. Following that, when his gaze pierced through the light, he could see a huge red-bone horse monkey entrenched in front of him. He knew that this was the manifestation of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. It carried an incomparably domineering aura, suppressing him to the point that he was unable to resist. As the golden light bloomed, Du Xiaofu's palm also reached out and directly pressed on the dragon desolate patriarch's head. This was not the first time he had set up the blood soul seal. He was already familiar with it and did not feel the slightest bit awkward. As the power flowed, the dragon desolate patriarch's consciousness gradually became blurry. However, his body was still twitching and trembling, instinctively resisting. However, the commotion slowly weakened until it finally stopped. Du Xiaofu used the beast-controlling technique, and strange runes were engraved on the dragon desolate patriarch's primordial spirit, finally forming the blood soul seal. It's done! After a long time, Du Xiaofu let out a long sigh of relief. The golden light that filled the sky gradually dissipated, and the palm retracted. The two figures also appeared. Master! The dragon desolate patriarch bowed, lowered his head, and said respectfully to Du Xiaofu. As expected of a sage stage expert, even setting up the blood soul seal took a lot of effort. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly, feeling a trace of exhaustion in his mind. However, the final result made him feel very gratified. With such a powerful 8 desolation demonic dragon as a servant, it would be a great help to the entire desolate country. The only thing that gave him a bad impression was the half of his face that he had slapped away. It looked very uncomfortable. Fortunately, this was not a puppet. As the dragon desolate ancestor cultivated, it would not take too long for it to recover. His strength would once again return to its peak state. I'll just call you Desolate Dragon from now on. Let's get out of here. Du Xiaofu waved his hand, and the desolate ancient space opened, connecting to the outside world. The dragon wasteland ancestor followed closely behind him. The two of them flew out together and appeared in a frozen snow spirit mountain. Xiaofu! Young patriarch! Brother! As soon as Du Xiaofu appeared, Du Tingxian, Zhen Qingchun, Jialo Jueyu, Dai Xingyu, and the others quickly surrounded him. However, the arrival of the dragon wasteland ancestor caused everyone to be stunned for a moment before they suddenly erupted with intense hostility. All of them were on guard as they stared at him closely. Don't worry, the desolate dragon will be one of us from now on. Du Xiaofu raised his hand to stop the crowd from overreacting and briefly explained. Many people did not understand what was going on, but after hearing this, most of them smiled confidently. Many people knew about Du Xiaofu's beast-controlling technique. However, they still could not believe that the dragon wasteland ancestor from the ancient desolate continent would actually become Du Xiaofu's servant. One had to know that his strength was terrifying. In the entire world, he was one of the strongest. At the very least, among the people present, only Du Xiaofu could defeat him. Even Beluan Bingchen and the ancestor of the golden-winged Great Rock clan, who had walked out of the eternal tomb, did not dare to say that they were stronger than the dragon wasteland ancestor. Has the serene snow heavenly saint's cave opened? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and swept his gaze across the field. He discovered that many of the figures from before were no longer here. Moreover, although the outside of the cave was isolated by a talisman array, under the prying of his scarlet pheasant monkey's primordial spirit, he could still detect a trace of abnormal fluctuations. Even without guessing, one could tell that those people who were no longer present must have entered that place. Du Xiaoyao suddenly changed his temperament and brought the general and the others in. Sacred Array Child Zhen Qingchun said with a smile. Then why are there still so many people who haven't entered? Du Xiaofu looked at Zhen Qingchun in confusion. Logically speaking, The inheritance of the serene snow heavenly saint was extremely extraordinary. There was no reason not to fight for it. Let that group of youngsters fight for the opportunities there. Us old fellows won't get involved. Anyway, no matter who gets it in the end, it can increase the strength of the battle against the demon god. Du Tingxian took a sip of wine and said with a smile. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu could not help but nod. After thinking for a while, he agreed. Most people here were not skilled in the Tao of Ice. Only Feng Wuxie and Lian Qingrong had dabbled in it. They were the most suitable successors of the serene snow heavenly saint's inheritance. After a while, he said, "Then we don't have to wait here. Go to your own things." Du Xiaofu turned to look at the Dragon Wilderness ancestor who was standing respectfully behind him and said, "Dragon Wilderness, stay here and wait for them to come out. Then, return to the desolate country and guard the stone city with Hun Ji. We'll talk about the rest when I come back." "What are your plans next?" Du Tingxian asked. "I have to go to the demon realm immediately." "There's no time to delay." Du Xiaofu's gaze was unhurried and filled with worry. Hearing this, everyone understood his plan and fell silent. They all looked at Du Xiaofu with eyes full of anticipation. Now, all of this young man's actions were to prepare for the great calamity. The burden on his shoulders was too heavy. In short, be careful. Du Tingxian looked at his monkey and reminded softly. "I will." Du Xiaofu nodded and then added, "Send someone to send a message to Huolei Laozu. I'll wait for him in the demon realm. I still need his help to find the remaining 29 spiritual thunders." But Du Tingxian nodded. Du Xiaofu pondered for a moment, then turned and walked in the direction of the golden-winged rock clan. Jialo Batian, Jialo Juiu, Jialo Kaling, Jialo Juekong, and the old lady were all there. After everyone's consolation, the old lady's emotions had calmed down a lot. However, her old eyes were still turbid and her expression was gloomy. It was obvious that she was still heartbroken over the passing of Jialo Juekong. "Grandmother." Du Xiaofu held the old lady's arm and comforted her. "Juekong was able to turn back in the end. It means that he still has you and the rest of the clan in his heart. Don't be too sad." "Child, don't worry. I'll be fine. Although Juekong is gone, I still have you." The old lady squeezed out a smile and touched Du Xiaofu's head as she spoke. Du Xiaofu nodded vigorously. Seeing his grandmother's appearance, he couldn't help but feel sad. After saying a few more words, he bid farewell to the old lady and everyone else. "Let's go." Du Xiaofu turned around and looked into the infinite distance with a burning expression. "Let's go to the demon realm." Chapter 2567. As soon as Du Xiaofu finished speaking, his figure slowly faded away in the void as he broke through space and disappeared. "Third young master, wait for me." At this moment, a voice came from the serene snow heavenly saint's cave. Immediately after, a dazzling golden light burst out from within and instantly broke through the obstruction of the outer array. Like a flying divine sword, it quickly chased in the direction Du Xiaofu disappeared. The golden light had just appeared and in the blink of an eye, it attacked the distant horizon and then disappeared. What is Du Xiaoyao trying to do? Zhen Qingxuan's charming face couldn't help but laugh as he spoke. The demon realm, that's a place that very rarely appears before people, and it's also very rare to hear of the people and deeds there. I presume that there are many fortuitous encounters hidden there. With little Demon Du's personality of seizing every opportunity, how could she not go and join in the fun? Du Tingxian slowly paced 2 steps and said with a smile. "The demon realm is probably more complicated than we thought. I hope Xiaofu can get a satisfactory result this time." Zhen Qingchun said with a slightly worried expression. For most people, the demon realm only existed in legends. The creatures there were all sentient beings born from all things in the world and were extremely powerful. It could be said that the overall strength of the demon realm could not compare to all the races in this world combined. However, those beings that could become sentient were definitely not simple. If an ordinary person entered the demon realm, if they were not careful, their life would be in danger. Not to mention, there might be some strange, secret places that contained endless dangers. The world will no longer be peaceful. The demon realm is not a place we are familiar with, and we have not had any dealings with the demon spirits. Also, we don't know if the devil religion will have designs on that place. Du Tingxian was also faintly worried about Du Xiaofu going alone. They had not seen many demon spirits. The only ones they knew were the Purple Lotus Fairy and Hongyue. Of course, Huolei Laozu and Lei Tianhuang were considered demon spirits, but their origins were extraordinary. Lei Tianhuang even gained sentience not long ago. Presumably, they did not have any connection with the demon realm. In addition, there was Du Xiaoyao, the monkey that jumped out of a stone. However, he had always been by Du Xiaofu's side, so it was even more impossible for him to know anything about the demon realm. Send a message to Huolei Laozu. We have to speed up the rest. We must stop the devil religion at all costs. Qingchun said. If we can help Xiaofu's, then we can't let him carry all the pressure. We can't let him carry all the pressure alone. Gu Qingyang said. Time slowly passed, and 10 days of time had quietly passed without anyone noticing. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao walked through the space tunnel. In these 10 days, they did not stop and walk towards the direction of the demon realm. In fact, not many people knew the specific location of the demon realm. Du Xiaofu had only heard Huolei Laozu mention the approximate location. For an old monster like Flamespark who had lived since the ancient times, it was not surprising that he knew about this. Boss, how long until we reach the demon realm? In the space tunnel, Du Xiaoyao's eyes were filled with golden light as she looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. It should be soon. 10 days should have been enough for us to cross this realm. But the demon realm is really too far away, and it is in a special space. It can be considered a real independent realm, so it took a lot of time. Du Xiaofu said with a light smile with one hand behind his back. Sure enough, not much time had passed before he came to a stop in the spatial tunnel. Almost at the same time, Du Xiaoyao also stopped and used her powerful primordial spirit to spy on the outside world. Both of them had discovered something unusual. Let's go down and take a look. Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed slightly as he said to Du Xiaoyao. As their voices fell, the two of them also rushed out of the space tunnel and appeared in a vast mountain range. This was an incomparably vast place. Countless mountain ranges rose up and down. Looking from the sky, it was extremely spectacular. In this mountain range, there were countless towering trees rooted in it. As if they had survived from ancient times, each of them was extremely thick and tall, like a primitive forest. In this forest, there were many powerful demon beasts walking through it, and there were also a large number of spiritual herbs. Spiritual qi filled every corner, making it much easier for people to breathe. However, to the current Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, spiritual herbs were not very attractive to them. Only sacred herbs could arouse their interest. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao landed, and waves of ancient and vicissitudes of life rushed towards them. However, what was different from ordinary forests was that there were strange fluctuations in the space here. If it was an ordinary expert here, it would be very difficult for them to notice this. However, Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao were not ordinary people. One of them had the primordial spirit of a red-bone horse monkey, while the other had the body of a red-bone horse monkey. In the eyes of other experts, those extremely powerful talisman arrays could not stop them, not to mention some of the spatial fluctuations here. They could not escape the perception of their powerful primordial spirits. This must be the entrance to the demon realm. Du Xiaofu's body crossed and entered the mountain range. He stood at the top of a towering tree and said. Just a few dozen miles in front of him, there was a place where there seemed to be imperceptible wrinkles in the space. Occasionally, there would be waves of ripples spreading out. However, if one did not observe carefully, they would not be able to notice such movements. Needless to say, behind the distorted space, it was very likely that there was another place. According to what Flamespark said, there was a great possibility that it was the entrance to the demon realm. Let's go, I can't wait any longer. Du Xiaoyao did not care about what Du Xiaofu was thinking and directly rushed over. The demon realm was different from other places. Places that could give birth to spiritual intelligence were definitely treasures. One could imagine that in an existence where all living things were formed by all things, there must be many strange places where one could obtain many opportunities. This guy is really a scourge. It seems that the demon realm is going to suffer. Du Xiaofu cursed softly and chased after him with a smile. He was also curious about what kind of place the demon realm was. Since it was able to form a space of its own and produce so many demon spirits, it was easy to imagine how extraordinary it was. The two of them, one in front and one behind, flew above a huge tree. Their bodies bloomed with an intense light that was incomparably terrifying. Chapter 2568. A ferocious aura swept across the area, like a strong gust of wind blowing through the treetops and branches. Two rays of golden light bloomed in the sky, like two large suns hanging in the sky. The golden light that filled the sky sprinkled down, dyeing the nearby ancient forest a golden color. A vast pressure emanated from Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao. The nearby monsters all prostrated themselves on the ground, roaring and kowtowing in their direction, feeling uneasy. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, one used the redbone horse monkey primordial spirit, and the other revealed her true body. One in front and one behind, they plunged into the area where the spatial ripples were located. A huge resistance came, creating a strong sense of rejection for the two. The pressure was like a tidal wave, as if it wanted to slap them away and stop their movements. But to these two, this kind of power was not enough to stop them. After the two giant redbone horse monkeys each let out an earth-shaking roar, the spatial ripples emitted a violent wave. Then, the golden light that filled the sky suddenly disappeared, and the two figures disappeared. In this ancient forest, it was as if no one had ever appeared. The entire mountain range also regained its silence. All the demonic beasts looked around in fear and trepidation. Then, they spread their legs and fled into the distance in panic. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao broke through the spatial barrier, and their figures appeared in a space that was very different from the outside world. Is this the demon realm? The spiritual energy here is so dense. Du Xiaoyao said as she sniffed. When the two of them stepped into this place, they felt as if the spiritual energy had materialized and rushed towards them. On their bodies, it was as if every pore was about to open, breathing happily. Even the Xian Qi in their god's watchtower was circulating faster than usual. This kind of density was much denser than any other space they had been to before. The three continents are Kyushu realm, and the Kyushu realm can be considered a whole world. The other 5 places can be considered independent spaces. Since this place is called the demon realm, there must be something special about it. And to be able to make all living things develop intelligence, it must rely on the support of abnormally dense spiritual energy. Therefore, it's reasonable that the demon realm is blessed by the heavens. Du Xiaofu said with narrowed eyes. There weren't many demon spirits that he had truly come into contact with. Although he had killed quite a few in the past, those were all considered weak existences. The ones he was most familiar with were Violet Lotus Fairy and Rainbow Moon. What a great place! There must be treasures here. Du Xiaoyao's eyes glowed with a green light, and the power of her primordial spirit spread out in all directions. For such a unique world to be able to produce such a large number of demon spirits, there was no need to think about it. There must be an incredible treasure hidden within. Don't just think about treasures. Our purpose here is to draw the demon realm to our side to fight against the demon god. I also don't know which forces the demon spirits here belong to, and who I should look for. Du Xiaofu said, but he was worried. If the forces of the demon realm were too complex, it would be a situation of 8 forces competing for hegemony, then it would not be easy for him to achieve his goal. If he were to subdue them one by one, it would take too much time. And if the entire demon realm was unified, then he only needed to persuade the highest authority, and he could easily achieve the result he wanted. Let's go. Let's see what kind of place this is. I hope the situation isn't too complicated. Du Xiaofu rushed out and quickly swept into the distance. Du Xiaoyao's face also became serious, as if she felt Du Xiaofu's mood and began to treat it seriously. Hey boss, there are some demon spirits ahead. In the process of moving forward, Du Xiaoyao's eyes turned and said to Du Xiaofu. Oh, their cultivation doesn't seem to be too strong. Let's go take a look and inquire about the situation here. Du Xiaofu also discovered that there was a vast and messy mountain forest not far away. In the mountain forest, weeds and shrubs were overgrown, and it was incomparably messy. At the same time, there was a strange fluctuation, which was the aura of living creatures. This aura was different from the aura of humans and beasts, and it had a natural charm. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao could sense that there were many giant trees and shrubs growing there. But the fluctuations that they emitted made it easy for the two of them to determine that these were demon spirits. There were both tree demons and vine spirits, and they existed in their original forms. Based on the aura, they knew that the cultivation of these demon spirits was not high. The most powerful one was equivalent to a human martial emperor. Among the demon spirits, they should be called demon emperors. With this kind of cultivation, they could already transform into a human. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao flew down and entered the forest. Someone's coming. The tree demons and vine spirits were slightly surprised by the arrival of Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao, and their soul power fluctuated. Young man, which demon spirit are you from? What are you here for? A hoarse voice came from a tree about 10 feet thick, and it spoke human language to Du Xiaofu. Everyone, I'm from the outside world, and I'm just passing by. I have no intention of disturbing you, and I just want to inquire about some things. Du Xiaofu cupped his hands towards the surroundings and said. He and Du Xiaoyao both retracted their auras, not wanting to make these demon spirits feel fear. The purpose of his visit was to find out the situation of the forces in the demon realm, and he did not want to waste any time here. He wouldn't have any enmity towards these weak demon spirits. However, Du Xiaofu's words caused many of the trees and shrubs in the surroundings to shake violently. Exclamations of surprise sounded, and it was obvious that they were shocked. From the outside world? You're not a demon spirit? The branches and leaves of the tree that spoke earlier shook violently, and then the whole earth shook with a rumble. Then, a burst of green light flashed, and the tree disappeared from where it was. An old man with shriveled skin appeared in front of Du Xiaofu. There was no white hair on his head, but green leaves. There were lines on his neck, like a circle of bark wrapped around it. That's right, I'm from the human race. I came to the demon realm with no hostility. I just want to inquire about the situation here, please tell me. Du Xiaofu looked at the old man in front of him and said, Human race. You're actually from the human race. How could a human enter our demon realm? The old man's expression was a little shocked, and he looked at Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao in disbelief. He had lived for many years, so he naturally knew the uniqueness of the demon realm. Generally speaking, it was impossible for a human to enter the demon realm. Even the demon realm experts couldn't break through the space barrier outside. Unless a demon saint expert made a move, then they could freely travel through there. But these two young men in front of him actually said that they were from the outside world. Then wouldn't their cultivation be quite terrifying? Chapter 2569. Translator. H2H2 Mr. The old man was shocked by the strength of Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao. To be able to break through the outer space barrier of the demon realm meant that their strength was no less than that of a demon saint. It was no wonder that they were able to detect the existence of these people. In this entire ancient forest, there were countless trees and shrubs, but there were only a handful of demon spirits. If someone of ordinary cultivation came in, they would not be able to tell that they had gained spiritual intelligence. Sirs, what do you want to know? As long as this old man knows, I will tell you everything. The old man cupped his hands and bowed to Du Xiaofu, his tone becoming much more polite. Du Xiaofu smiled and said, This is our first time here. I wonder if you can tell us where the strongest forces in the demon realm are and where they are located? Please lead the way. I would like to pay them a visit. The old man was stunned when he heard this. It seemed that he found it difficult to speak, as if he had some concerns. The moment this young man opened his mouth, he said that he wanted to pay a visit to the strongest people in the demon realm. This shocked him. How strong must the two people standing in front of him be to dare to say such a thing? However, this kind of shock only lasted for a short moment. The green leaf on top of the old man's head shook as he adjusted his emotions and said, The demon realm is vast. This old man's strength is weak and I don't know how big it is. I don't know much about those high and mighty experts. I only know that almost all the demon spirits in the demon realm are under the control of the demon Saint Temple, and the demon Saint Temple is in the ancestral demon mountain. Demon Saint Temple? Ancestral demon mountain? Du Xiaofu silently repeated these two names and did not say anything. His gaze was still fixed on the old man, waiting for him to continue. I heard that the two strongest ancestors in the demon Saint Temple are called the heavenly demon ancestor and the earth demon ancestor. Their cultivation is heavenly. It is said that they have already reached the peak of this realm. Everyone in the demon realm knows of the names of these two. Of course, the exact height of that realm is not something that a mere demon emperor like me can understand. The old man looked up at the sky and sighed. There was a look of longing on his aged face. Heaven demon old ancestor, earth demon old ancestor. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. After exchanging a glance with Du Xiaoyao, he asked again, "Do you know what the true forms of the heaven demon ancestor and the earth demon ancestor are?" "I don't know. I've only heard that the sacred demon palace has always been managed by the earth demon old ancestor. As for the sky demon old ancestor, it seems that he hasn't appeared for many years. It seems that he has been alive for much longer than this old man." The old man said. Du Xiaofu nodded, not doubting the old man's words. With his strength in the demon emperor realm, there were many things that he could not pry into. As for the heaven demon ancestor and the earth demon ancestor, he would know once he saw them. He thought for a moment and asked the old man, "Where is the ancestral demon mountain? How can we get there?" "I don't know the exact location of the ancestral demon mountain, but I know its approximate location. From here to the northwest, it's at least hundreds of thousands of miles away. The demon spirits that you can meet along the way will become more and more powerful. It shouldn't be difficult for you to find out more about it when the time comes." The old man bowed to Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao. Hundreds of thousands of miles away. It's really quite far. Du Xiaoyao smacked her lips and said. However, he didn't care too much. With his and Du Xiaofu's strength, it wouldn't take too long to cross such a distance. Du Xiaofu lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then asked, "Old man, in the demon realm, besides the sacred demon palace, are there any other forces that are on par with it?" According to what the old man had said, it seemed that the sacred demon palace was the strongest force. If that was the case, then the process of his trip would be much simpler. As long as he found the heaven demon ancestor and persuaded them, it was equivalent to persuading the entire demon realm. This was what Du Xiaofu wanted to see the most. The old man licked his dry lips and said to Du Xiaofu, "My lord, although the sacred demon palace is the strongest force in the demon realm, it is not without opponents. As far as I know, there is a man named Blackwater Monarch who occupies the Blackwater River, which is millions of miles south of the sacred demon palace. He has always been against the sacred demon palace. However, the overall strength of the Blackwater River should be much worse than that of the sacred demon palace. It is just occupying a corner of the Blackwater River. It is difficult for the sacred demon palace to destroy it." Hearing this, Du Xiaofu understood. Such a situation did not make Du Xiaofu feel worried or anything like that. According to the old man's words, the sacred demon palace almost unified the entire demon realm. No matter how strong the Blackwater River was, they could only rely on dangerous places to deal with the sacred demon palace, but they did not have the ability to be tough. Of course, this Blackwater monarch was not a simple person. The heavenly demon ancestor of the Holy Demon Temple had not appeared for many years, but he could rely on the Blackwater River and the heavenly demon ancestor to lead the entire Holy Demon Temple, which could be regarded as the enemy of half of the demon world. Just from this courage alone, it could be seen that he was not an easy person to deal with. "Boss, do you think we should help the sacred demon palace deal with the Blackwater River, or help the Blackwater River deal with the sacred demon palace?" Du Xiaoyao's eyes flashed as he looked at Du Xiaofu and said. His meaning was very simple. If they helped one side and took down the other side, then they would have a bargaining chip. At that time, the entire demon realm would be truly unified. If they wanted to win them over to fight against the devil religion, there would be less resistance. We'll talk about it later. Let's go in the direction of the sacred demon palace first. Du Xiaofu said, then clasped his fist to the old man and said, "Thank you for telling us this. We won't disturb you any longer. Goodbye. Take care." The old man bowed to send them off. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao's figures slowly faded in the void and then disappeared from the mountain forest in the blink of an eye. The old man just stood there as he watched the scene unfold. After a long time, when he was sure that the purple-robed and golden-robed young man had really left, the old man finally turned his gaze to a fine-leaved vine not far away and said, "Ting 9, quickly go to Qingshan City and report what happened here today to the city lord. These two young people from the outside world are really not simple. The demon realm has been peaceful for too long. I hope that their arrival will not cause a big disturbance." Chapter 2570. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao traveled in the direction that the old man had told them, heading towards the sacred demon palace. More than a day had passed, which was the evening of the second day they had entered the demon realm. They had already traveled quite a distance. It was also at this moment that the two of them stopped at the same time and emerged from the void tunnel, hovering in the void. This was because, not far in front of the two of them, there was a rather majestic city standing quietly in their line of sight. Who would have thought that the demon spirits of the demon realm would actually build a city like humans? Du Xiaofu looked at the huge city gate and was secretly surprised. The thick city wall looked like a complete piece of huge rock. The wall was smooth and there were no gaps at all. A huge doorway had been hollowed out, hundreds of feet high, allowing people to enter and exit. At this moment, there were many living creatures entering and exiting in an endless stream. These living creatures had all sorts of strange appearances. Some had roots on the soles of their feet, some had spikes on their arms, and some had pitch-black stones on their foreheads. One could tell at a glance that these living creatures were all demon spirits. After transforming into human form, they still retained a part of their original appearance. "Boss, let's go take a look. Maybe there's something good in the cities of the demon realm." Du Xiaoyao's eyes glowed with a golden light as she looked hopefully at Du Xiaofu and said, "Let's go take a look. We can also find out if the information we received earlier is accurate." Du Xiaofu nodded and said with a smile. He knew Du Xiaoyao's personality very well. She was extremely passionate about treasures and the like. It was not easy to come across a demon spirit city. If he did not go in and take a look around, he would not give up. At the same time, Du Xiaofu also had other considerations. The old man transformed from the huge tree was indeed a little weak in terms of cultivation. The accuracy of the information he provided was difficult to determine. Why not make some more inquiries in this city? After Du Xiaofu finished speaking, he took the lead and headed towards the city gate. Seeing this, Du Xiaoyao followed closely behind. The two of them landed in front of the city gate and walked on foot. One demon spirit after another brushed past them. Their arrival did not attract much attention. Du Xiaoyao, who had jumped out of the rock, was originally a demon spirit. After Du Xiaofu concealed his aura, no one could tell that he was a human. Spirit Spring. Sell the spirit spring we found in the Luo Duan Mountains for cheap. Brother, I'm selling high-grade spirit herbs. Come and take a look. I'm here to take a look. As soon as Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao walked into the city, they felt as if they had walked into a human market. The roadside was crowded with stalls, and there were also some high-end shops on the side of the street. All kinds of hawking sounds could be heard. At the same time, there were also many demon spirits coming and going. They stopped at various places to look, and when they found something suitable, they would exchange it with corresponding items. Is this really the demon realm? Du Xiaoyao said in a daze. The scene here seemed to be a little different from what he had imagined. It is indeed a little unexpected. However, there are really good things here. Du Xiaofu said with a smile. He looked at the items on the side of the street one by one and realized that some of them were really extraordinary. If it was for a human of the martial field or below, it would be of great use to them. However, to the two of them, it was clearly not enough. Du Xiaofu looked for a while and felt a little disinterested. He slowly retracted his gaze. However, when his gaze inadvertently swept past the end of the street, His eyelids suddenly twitched. Du Xiaofu exclaimed and looked at the deepest part of the street. There sat an old man with unkempt hair and a dirty face. Different from most people, this old man's arms looked like they were woven out of thin vines. At a glance, one could tell that his body was a green vine. However, what interested Du Xiaofu was not the old man himself, but an item on the ground in front of him. It was a stone, the size of a wash basin. It was black and looked like a lump of coal. At first glance, it looked very ordinary. It was also because of this that no one stopped in front of the old man's stall. All of the demon spirits took a quick glance and walked away without a care in the world. Looking at the stone, Du Xiaofu's heart could not help but start to beat violently. I didn't expect that I would actually encounter this thing here. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself as he quickly walked towards the old man. Boss, are you stupid? That's just a broken stone. At most, it's a material that can be used to refine trash spirit artifacts. What's there to look at? Du Xiaoyao did not understand. Seeing Du Xiaofu's unusually excited expression, he could not help but shout. Du Xiaofu ignored him and walked in front of the old man, grabbing the stone in his hand. But before he had the time to carefully examine it, an extremely arrogant voice entered Du Xiaofu's ears. Old fart, I want this broken stone. Name a price. Du Xiaofu turned around and saw a short young man walking to his side. This young man's human form was very normal. His eyes, ears, hands, and feet were all the same as a human's. The only thing that could show the characteristics of his original body was the hair that was made of willow branches. However, that face had a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks. It was extremely wretched. Coupled with his arrogant expression, it made people feel an indescribable disgust. As the young man spoke, a small hand reached out and directly grabbed the stone in Du Xiaofu's hand. It was obvious that he had forcefully snatched it away. You want to snatch something from me? Don't you know the rule of first come, first served? Du Xiaofu's right arm shook slightly and easily dodged the young man's palm. He saw through the young man's strength and body at a glance. It was just a willow tree at the demon venerable realm. This kind of cultivation might be enough to dominate a region. With the young man's age, he must be a direct disciple of some large force. However, Du Xiaofu did not need to pay attention to this at all. Today, he was determined to obtain this unprepossessing stone. This was because when he saw the stone, he felt a familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar aura. Others might not be able to see it, but Du Xiaofu felt it immediately. It carried a trace of the aura of the spiritual thunder. It was extremely difficult to detect. Even Du Xiaoyao thought it was an ordinary stone. Yes, it was the aura of a spiritual thunder that he had never seen before. It was very likely that the place where this stone came from was the place where the spiritual thunder was. He now had 7 spiritual thunders in his body. He was more sensitive to such aura than anyone else. If not, he would not have been able to discover the extraordinariness of this stone at a glance. Chapter 2571. Du Xiaofu's words made the willow-haired young man's face darken. The old man sitting on the ground had been happy that someone had finally taken a fancy to his stone, but in the blink of an eye, a dispute had broken out. He agreed with what the purple-robed young man had said, but just as he was about to chime in, he saw the willow-haired young man's face clearly. In a split second, his expression became aghast, and he swallowed his words back into his stomach. He could only open his mouth, unable to say a single word. Kid, don't you know what kind of place this Jade Willow City is? How dare you talk to me about the rules of first come, first served? The willow-haired young man glared at Du Xiaofu and said coldly. His nostrils were in the air, as if they could grow to his forehead, and he had an arrogant look on his face. These words made Du Xiaofu raise his eyebrows involuntarily. Needless to say, this young man must be another rich second generation. Relying on his family's influence and his own strength, he was used to being bossy and domineering in front of outsiders. Du Xiaofu was not in the mood to reason with such a person. Regardless of whether it was right or wrong, he would just directly teach him a lesson. However, before he could do anything, Du Xiaoyao on the side exploded first. What the fuck are you? How dare you hoot in front of me? As Du Xiaoyao spoke, he leaped forward and moved extremely quickly, directly lifting the willow-haired young man up by his collar. Then, before the young man could react, he waved his arm and threw him out fiercely. After a loud rumble, rocks flew into the air, smoke and dust rose everywhere. A human-shaped hole appeared on the city wall in the distance, penetrating from the inside out. However, the city wall did not collapse, and there were not even cracks on the wall. It could be seen that Du Xiaoyao's control of his force had reached a marvelous level. This scene shocked everyone on the street, and the old man on the side was no exception. However, only Du Xiaofu knew that Du Xiaoyao had already been extremely merciful. If he was willing, with that young man's cultivation, little demon Du could easily crush him to death with a single finger. Some people really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They're really tired of living. Du Xiaoyao curled her thin lips and muttered. Her eyes did not even look in that direction. Du Xiaofu smiled, not minding these things. He turned to look at the old man formed from the green vine, tossed the stone in his hand, and asked, "May I know what elder wants to exchange it for?" "Milord, this old man wants to exchange for spiritual herbs that can help him break through." Because of Du Xiaoyao's overbearing attack, the old man spoke cautiously, but his eyes were filled with hope when he looked at Du Xiaofu. He had been waiting here for a long time, and no one had shown any interest in this stone. However, this young man had taken a fancy to it, which meant that he must be very interested in it. Spirit herbs for breaking through? Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows again and said with slight surprise, "Is this stone worth this price?" He could see that this old man had reached the exceptional realm of the demon royal realm. If he broke through again, he would reach the demon venerable realm. A spiritual herb for breaking through to the demon venerable realm was already extremely extraordinary. As Du Xiaoyao had said before, this black stone could only be used to refine a mediocre spiritual weapon at most. Compared to the spiritual herb that the old man needed, it was on a completely different level. If Du Xiaofu had not sensed a faint aura of spiritual thunder, he would not have been interested in it at all. This old man seemed to be asking for an exorbitant price. "Milord, this old man also has a piece of information that may be worth this price." Seeing Du Xiaofu's expression, the old man hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Oh, what kind of information?" Du Xiaofu was even more interested. He guessed that the information that the old man knew was probably related to the 8th spiritual thunder. If that was the case, not to mention a spiritual herb for breaking through to the martial venerable realm, even a sacred herb would be worth it. This stone came from the Yin Mountain, a secret place that was left behind from the ancient times. This old man brought this stone out from there. I heard that a mysterious item will be born there, but, as the old man spoke, his face turned red and he looked a little embarrassed. "But what?" Du Xiaofu asked hurriedly. The mysterious item that was about to be born was most likely a spiritual thunder. But many strong people have already rushed over. With my strength, I could not obtain such an opportunity, so I could only return here, the old man said. Du Xiaofu nodded and expressed his understanding. This old man's information was probably outdated. No wonder he looked so embarrassed. The 36 spiritual thunders were formed when the ancestors of the Du family fell. Every one of them was extraordinary, so it was reasonable that it attracted many strong people. However, the spiritual thunder was very important to Du Xiaofu. No matter what the situation was, he had to make a trip there. Du Xiaofu did not hesitate and directly took out a sacred herb from his cosmos bag. He held it in front of the old man and said, "This is a sacred herb. Not to mention helping you break through to the martial venerable realm, it is not impossible for you to reach the nirvana realm. But if you want it, you have to bring us to the Yin Mountain." "I am willing." When the old man saw this, he was very happy and nodded continuously, as if he was afraid that Du Xiaofu would go back on his word. "Then let's go now," Du Xiaofu said and handed the sacred herb in his hand to the old man. As he spoke, he sent a message to Du Xiaoyao, telling him that this might be related to the spiritual thunder. Du Xiaoyao instantly understood the importance of this matter, and he nodded in agreement. However, they just turned around and were about to traverse space and leave when they noticed a large group of people rushing aggressively towards them. There were around 30 people in this group, and they were led by a middle-aged man with firm skin. The young man that Du Xiaoyao had smashed away earlier was amongst them. At this moment, the young man was holding his chest and limping. Obviously, he'd suffered quite a heavy injury. Obviously, after beating up the young one, the old one had come. He was here to get back at them. However, the middle-aged man in the lead was not weak at all. He'd actually attained the peak of the intermediate stage of the Saint Demon realm, and he was only a step away from the advanced stage. Another willow demon. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed slightly. Just like the young man, the middle-aged man's hair was like willow branches as well. The old man's entire body trembled violently when he saw these people arrive, and he wished for nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. "My lord, let's leave quickly. Otherwise, it'll be too late." The old man spoke hastily and pulled on Du Xiaofu's sleeve with all his strength. "Senior, there's no need to be nervous." Du Xiaofu gave him a smiling gaze to indicate that he didn't need to worry. "Isn't it good to live a good life? Why did you have to court death?" Du Xiaoyao's eyes were suffused with a golden glow as he spoke in a ghastly voice. Chapter 2572. Old Senior, do you know where those people are from? Du Xiaofu turned around and asked the old man. Although he could see through the person's true form, he knew nothing about the forces in the demon realm. He had no idea about the identities of these people. And this old man saw that those people were in a state of panic, so he must be familiar with them. "Sir, that middle-aged man is the city lord of Jade Willow City, and that young man is his son. The father and son have always been domineering, and no one dares to provoke them." The old man adjusted his panicked emotions and said to Du Xiaofu through telepathy. "The city lord of Jade Willow City is also an overlord. How can he be so arrogant? How can he have no spirit at all?" Du Xiaofu looked at the middle-aged man, and he couldn't help but look down on him. The old man continued, "Sir, you don't know, but the city lord of Jade Willow City originally had the status of an elder of the sacred demon palace, and his status was not low. But hundreds of years ago, his brother betrayed the sacred demon palace and joined the Lord of Blackwater, becoming his #1 military advisor. The city lord of Jade Willow City was implicated because of this and was exiled to this corner of Jade Willow City. He lost his core position and was cursed and despised by countless demon spirits. But because his strength is very strong, and it is said that he is close to the late stage of the sacred demon realm, no one can really strip him of all his power. Here, no one can do anything to them. It actually has something to do with the Lord of Blackwater." Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and he understood. Presumably, the city lord of Jade Willow City was exiled because he was questioned, and he had nowhere to vent his resentment, so he lost his mind a little. However, the Lord of Blackwater was indeed a figure. He could stand up to the sacred demon palace as an equal, so he was definitely not a simple person. The #1 military advisor under him was definitely someone with extraordinary wisdom. While the two were talking, the 30 figures had already descended from the sky and surrounded Du Xiaofu and the other two. This situation made the old man even more uneasy. How dare you behave atrociously in Jade Willow City?" The middle-aged man, who was the city lord of Jade Willow City, glared at Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao one after another, and said in a deep voice, "What? Do you want to settle the score with me? In this world, there is no place that I dare not behave atrociously." Du Xiaoyao took a step forward and glanced at the young man, as if he didn't care. This sentence was arrogant, but it was the truth. He had always been the one robbing others. How many people dared to provoke him? With his current strength, he could be considered a peak existence in this world. Why would he be afraid of a Saint Demon intermediate stage cultivator? Hearing Du Xiaoyao's words, anger surged onto the middle-aged man's face. "In Jade Willow, in Jade Willow Willow, in Jade Willow in. You are how is death?" The middle-aged man was furious, and he couldn't help but shout at Du Xiaoyao. However, this time, Du Xiaoyao didn't answer him. Instead, he turned his head and looked at the willow-haired young man, saying arrogantly, "I didn't kill you. That's my mercy. How dare you come to me again? Kid, don't you think you are too arrogant? The city lord of Jade Willow City responded. His voice became even more gloomy, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. At the same time, a strange aura rose from his body, which was very different from that of humans and monsters. On his forehead, willow branches pierced through the void. With an inexplicably domineering aura, they directly wrapped around Du Xiaoyao. With just a word of disagreement, they immediately attacked. Murderous intent filled the area, strong and fierce. Is that so? Then I'll show you what real arrogance is.
What?
As soon as Du Xiaoyao finished speaking, he let out an earth-shaking roar from his throat, causing the entire city to shake along with him. In a split second, an incomparably terrifying pressure crushed down on the middle-aged man and the 30-odd figures behind him. Afterwards, boundless golden light blossomed, piercing their eyes and souls. Within the golden light, a huge figure sat cross-legged. It stretched across the void, basically occupying everyone's field of vision. A figure like this was like the appearance of a terrifying lord from the ancient times. Apart from Du Xiaofu and the old man from the green vine, everyone present immediately prostrated themselves on the ground. Under such pressure, the willow branches that shot out from the back of the middle-aged man's head stopped in the blink of an eye. Very soon, the willow branches rapidly withered, as if they had been drained of their essence. They became dispirited and listless, shooting back one by one. The middle-aged man fell on his bottom, looking at Du Xiaoyao's red-bone horse monkey form in fear. The pair of eyes no longer had the gloominess and domineering aura from before. Perfected sacred demon realm. The body of a red-bone horse monkey. The middle-aged man murmured. Only now did he know what kind of person he had provoked. Not only did the golden-robed youth have the body of a red-bone horse monkey, but he was also a perfected sacred demon realm cultivator. This made him feel extremely hopeless. Even in the entire demon realm, such strength could be counted on one's fingers. Even in the sacred demon palace, there were not many who were stronger than him. Where did this red-bone horse monkey demon spirit come from? Why have I never heard of it before? Didn't you think I was arrogant? Today, I'll show you how arrogant I am. Du Xiaoyao's grand voice rang out. A palm of golden light was raised into the air, and then it directly slapped down fiercely. Even the void was shaken to the point of rumbling. Such a palm stirred up ripples in the void. Wherever it passed, large cracks appeared in the surroundings. The group of people collapsed on the ground in fear, unable to resist at all. They were all filled with regret. They shouldn't have provoked such a terrifying expert. But now it was too late. Once this palm landed, no one would be able to survive. Forget it. We still have important things to do. Just as everyone was feeling hopeless, a faint voice rang out. Immediately after, the enormous red-bone horse ape paused in midair and stopped. Even so, the unparalleled energy that it carried still came down from the sky. The vast energy was like a tidal wave, violently crashing into the bodies of the 30 people below. Mouthfuls of blood were spat out. Their organs were greatly shaken, as if they had been crushed into minced meat. Even the middle-aged sacred demon realm middle-aged man felt his body being squeezed, and he was severely injured. When the energy ripples in the sky dissipated, the streets returned to normal. However, everyone noticed that the 3 figures who were standing there earlier had already vanished. Chapter 2573. Faint moonlight shone on an endless mountain range, giving off a sense of tranquility. Ancient trees rose from the ground, standing in rows on the mountain range, as if they had existed since time immemorial. Whoosh! Under the moonlight, a ripple appeared in the air above the mountain range, followed by a burst of light. 3 figures walked out from the crack in the void, standing in the air. Among the 3, 2 were young men, respectively dressed in purple robes and gold robes. The third was an old man. His arms were exposed as if they were formed from vines. These 3 were naturally Du Xiaofu, Du Xiaoyao, and Elder Green Vine, who had rushed to Yin Mountain from Jade Willow City. The demon realm is indeed different. I can't even hear the roars of demon beasts in this mountain range. It's terrifyingly quiet. Du Xiaofu looked around and murmured. Walking out from the void tunnel, he could sense the quiet atmosphere here. If it were in the mountains outside, with the power of his soul, he would definitely be able to detect the traces of the various beast clans. But here, there were only waves of aura unique to the demon realm rushing over, carrying the charm of nature, making people feel refreshed. It had to be said that this demon realm was truly like a pure land. This should be Yin Mountain, right? Du Xiaoyao's eyes were clear as she glanced at Elder Green Vine and asked. Sir, that's right. It's here. Elder Green Vine bowed and replied to Du Xiaoyao. There should be many demon spirits here. Why can't I find any traces of anyone? Du Xiaofu asked. He did not discover the existence of any demon spirits with his perception. Logically speaking, the appearance of a bolt of spirit lightning would definitely attract many experts to investigate and try to obtain it. There should be various forces gathering in this mountain range. It should not be so quiet. Old senior, where did you obtain this stone? Du Xiaofu asked. The black stone appeared in his hand again. Sir, there's a secret place left behind from ancient times here. It's in another vast space. Presumably, those experts who came for that mysterious item should have all entered that space. Elder Greenvine said. Du Xiaofu nodded when he heard this. Every bolt of spiritual thunder was extraordinary, so it was reasonable that it could create a special space. The black stone in his hand was an ordinary item. The reason why it had the residual spirit lightning's aura was probably because it had been affected by the spirit lightning for a long time. It went from a mountain rock to a material that could be used to refine spirit artifacts. One could imagine that that bolt of spirit lightning was definitely extraordinary. That, according to Du Xiaofu's, was the spirit lightnings was because the special environment the spirit lightning's was the spirit lightning was it was the spirit lightning was the spirit lightning was the spirit lightning spirit realm was that spirit lightning was the spirit lightning was stronger. Let's hurry over and take a look. It wouldn't be good if someone beat us to it. Du Xiaofu said to the old man, indicating that he should quickly lead the way. Yes, sir. With that, Elder Green Vine flew off first. Before long, the three of them appeared at the mouth of a volcano. The rocks on the mountain had become bright red from the scorching heat. They shone with a hazy glow under the faint night sky, forming a beautiful contrast with the moonlight above them. The space was scalding and scorching. Even with Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao's cultivations, they felt waves of heat wash over them. Du Xiaofu extended his hand, and a suction force surged out, pulling a bright red piece of volcanic rock into his hand. He observed it and discovered that it was basically the same as the rock he had obtained from the old man. However, it had not reached the level of a material for refining artifacts. Looks like it's here. Du Xiaofu tossed the rock back to the ground before turning around and leaping into the mouth of the volcano. Du Xiaoyao did not waste any time either, charging into the volcano with him. Big! Elder Green Vine called out as he extended his hand into the air. He was at a loss as to whether he should follow them or not. Just as he was stuck in a dilemma, Du Xiaofu's rather hazy voice rang out in his ears. Thank you, old senior. You can leave first. The old man immediately let out a sigh of relief when he heard that. Afterwards, he turned around and flew off into the distance, preparing to use the sacred medicine the purple-robed young man had given him to break through. After Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao entered the mouth of the volcano, the scorching feeling became more and more intense. It was like two balls of true fire were burning around them. If it were not for the protection of his profound qi, Du Xiaofu's clothes would have been reduced to ashes in a single moment. The space in the mouth of the volcano twisted and changed shape under the scorching heat. It was like a ball of paper that had been kneaded, becoming wrinkled. At the same time, the space below was isolated by the wrinkles, forming an independent space. The two of them made their way down. Without expending too much effort, they entered another space. This was a world of magma. Who knew how large it was? Just like a huge boiler. Bright red magma surged beneath their feet, giving off waves of heat. The surrounding cliffs were bright red as well. They were transparent like cooked iron, without any impurities at all. There really are quite a lot of people here. Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed slightly as he studied the surroundings. He discovered the existence of many living beings. There were around 100 of them, and all of them were at mid-saint realm or above. The 100 or so people were basically split into two factions. There were also a few people who were alone. They seemed to be independent cultivators. As expected, these living beings were all powerful demons. They had all gathered here. Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao's arrival obviously attracted everyone's attention. Many people looked over. More people have come. Which demon race are they from? Why haven't I seen them before? The two of them are in perfect human form. I can't see their original forms at all. I actually can't see through their auras at all. Just where are they from? Du Xiaofu ignored the gazes and discussions of the crowd as he descended. However, there were quite a number of demons that piqued his interest. First, there were two elders. One of them had snow-white hair and the other had fiery red hair. One was short and fat while the other was tall and thin. Their auras were cold and hot. When the two of them stood together, they seemed to be polar opposites. However, at the same time, they were dependent on each other. Du Xiaofu was surprised to see the two old men. They were both at the perfect saint demon realm. The second one that piqued Du Xiaofu's interest was a beautiful woman who looked to be around 12 years old. She was wearing a colorful robe that clung tightly to her body, outlining her graceful and alluring curves. Two large snow-white lumps were exposed at her chest area. It was very attractive. Her lower back was also perked up and was especially round and smooth. The woman stood in the air. She was as ethereal as the clouds and had a divine aura. Similarly, this woman's cultivation was at perfected saint demon realm. Chapter 2574. The third person was a tall old man. His short hair stood up like steel needles, making him look like a hedgehog. The old man's strength was also at the great perfection of the sacred demon realm. Standing together with the woman and the other two old men, they were obviously from the same force. Behind the four of them, there were many experts surrounding them. Four great perfection of the sacred demon realm. Du Xiaofu could not help but sigh. There were actually so many top experts in a force. Although these people were slightly weaker than him at this moment, it was undeniable that such a lineup was really powerful. On the other side, there were two people who also caught Du Xiaofu's attention. One of them was a man of medium build, covered in a blood-red robe. A strong smell of blood emanated from his body. Beside him stood a lean and capable young man. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he was waving a feather fan in his hand. His eyes were filled with confidence. Behind them, there were also many experts gathered. There was a faint hostility between the two of them and the four experts from before. When Du Xiaofu saw the lean and capable man, he could not help but squint his eyes. Because the man's hair was like willow branches, but it was not green, but black. Could this person be the brother of the Lord of Jade Willow City, the military advisor under the Lord of Blackwater? Du Xiaofu muttered to himself, thinking of what the old man in the green vine had said. If he guessed correctly, the man in the blood-red robe next to him was very likely the Lord of Blackwater. Needless to say, the opposing force must be from the sacred demon palace. He did not expect that the news of the spiritual thunder would attract so many experts from the two forces of the demon realm. Du Xiaofu glanced at the woman's side. He wondered if the great ancestor of the earth demon realm was one of them. If he was, he would not have to go to the trouble of going to the sacred demon palace to look for him. Legend had it that the heavenly demon ancestor had not appeared for countless years. If he wanted to pull the demon realm to his side, he would not be able to avoid the earth demon ancestor and the Blackwater monarch. Perhaps he would have to help one side deal with the other in order to achieve his goal. Du Xiaofu was about to ask, but he was interrupted by a gloomy voice. Kikik. Two ancestors of ice and fire, Fairy Lu Xia, Song Song, you're actually holding back from attacking the people of Blackwater River? You're getting more and more cowardly. Outside of the two camps, someone spoke. This person was all skin and bones, like a dried corpse. Only his head was full, with flesh and blood. But the strange thing was that the flesh on his chin and lower lip was wrinkled, as if there was no bone to support it. Song Mountain Skeleton, who are you calling a coward? The fiery red-haired old man immediately jumped out. His face suddenly turned red, and he was extremely angry. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to fight. "Walao, when will you change your temper? You can't stay calm after being provoked." The plump white-haired old man next to him said indifferently, "Ice Lawa, what are you talking about? Have you forgotten that I'm the boss?" The fiery red-haired old man stomped his feet and immediately diverted his anger. The old man called Ice Lawa snorted and ignored him. He turned to stare at Song Mountain Skeleton and said coldly, "Song Mountain Skeleton, if you want to stir up trouble here, I think we can kill you first." "Kiki, Song Mountain Skeleton, why don't you join Blackwater River? Let's see what the two ancestors of ice and fire can do to you." On the side of Blackwater River, the man with the feather fan said with a chuckle, "Dai Lu, I'm not interested in Blackwater River." Song Mountain Skeleton snorted coldly and said, Du Xiaofu could see that these people were gathered here for the spiritual thunder, and Song Mountain Skeleton should be an itinerant cultivator. The Sacred Monster Temple and Blackwater River did not fight because of their hatred, and it was probably because of their existence that they were restrained. If they suffered losses, a group of itinerant cultivators would take advantage of them. In addition to Song Mountain Skeleton, there were many itinerant cultivators here. Among them, there was a young man in tight clothes who stood coldly to the side and did not speak. The young man's aura was peerless and fierce, and it carried with it a terrifying and fierce edge. His strength was probably on par with Song Mountain Skeleton and the others. He was also in the complete sacred monster realm. While Du Xiaofu was observing him, the young man tilted his head slightly, and his eyes were so fierce that they seemed to be able to pierce through the void. "I wonder how I should address these two new friends." The man from Blackwater River, who was called Dai Lu by Song Mountain Skeleton, waved his feather fan gently. He glanced at Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao respectively, and asked in an unusually amiable manner. The smile on his face was like a gentle breeze brushing the willow tree, gentle and charming. In an instant, Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao had an inexplicable good impression of this person. But the more this was the case, the more vigilant Du Xiaofu was. He was no longer a young and inexperienced brat. He was familiar with all kinds of tricks to control people. This Dai Lu made him develop a kind of natural vigilance. This person was definitely not as easy to talk to as he seemed on the surface. How could the number one person under the Blackwater Monarch be simple? If he really treated him as a friend, he might be able to viciously trick him at any time. It seemed that it was better not to easily form an alliance with Blackwater River. It was better to observe the specific situation first before making a decision. Thinking in his heart, Du Xiaofu did not show too much displeasure on the surface. He lightly opened his mouth and replied with a half-truth, "The two of us rarely walk around the demon realm." On the contrary, Du Xiaoyao, who jumped out of the stone and was as smart as a ghost, snorted and did not bother to pay attention to Dai Lu at all. Dai Lu was not annoyed by the soft rebuff. He chuckled and did not speak anymore. As for the others, they all looked at Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao with interest. "I can tell at a glance that the two of you are extraordinary, but I seem to have never seen you before. You look very unfamiliar." In the sacred demon palace, the woman in colorful clothes stepped forward and said to Du Xiaofu with a smile. She was surprised that she could not see through the body and strength of these two people. Song Shan Skeleton had mentioned before that this woman's name was Rosy Fairy. "To tell you the truth, Rosy Fairy, we are from the outside world and want to discuss something with the heavenly demon ancestor or the earth demon ancestor." Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and said politely. According to Song Shan Skeleton, the people from the sacred demon palace were the ice and fire ancestors, Rosy Fairy, and Song Song. There was no earth demon ancestor among them. In this regard, Du Xiaofu was slightly disappointed. However, since he had met the people from the sacred demon palace, it should not be too difficult to get in touch with the earth demon ancestor. After harvesting the spiritual thunder here, he would accompany them to the sacred demon palace. Chapter 2575. From the outside world? How is that possible? The demon realm has been isolated from the outside world for countless years. How can anyone find this place? These two said they were looking for the heavenly demon ancestor and earth demon ancestor. Don't they know that the heavenly demon ancestor hasn't appeared for many years? Yeah, I don't know where the old man went. Du Xiaofu's words stunned everyone for a long time. Then, they began to discuss among themselves. Cai Xiaoferi opened her mouth and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Dai Lu, the top military advisor of Blackwater River, also looked at Du Xiaofu curiously. The man in the blood-red robe beside him also raised his head and stared at them. Everyone was shocked by the two men in front of them. To be able to come to the demon realm and look for the two strongest people here, these two young men were definitely not ordinary people. It was no wonder that everyone present could not see through their strength, and they looked very young. Had the outside world already become so powerful? I'm Du Xiaofu, and this is my brother Du Xiaoyao. When this is over, I'll have to trouble you to introduce me to the Earth Demon Ancestor. Du Xiaofu cupped his fists at the two ancestors of ice and fire, Cai Xiaoferi and Song Song. What? Du Xiaofu? You're the legendary rock emperor of the barren country, the demon king Du Xiaofu? Ancestor Fire of the two ancestors of ice and fire immediately shouted, looking extremely shocked. That's me. Du Xiaofu nodded and did not deny it. When the others saw this, they were also in disbelief, like Ancestor Fire. They all looked at the purple-robed young man in front of them in disbelief. The man in the blood-red robe from Blackwater River also looked at him strangely, as if there were two extremely fierce lights shooting out. As for those who were relatively weaker, they all looked at each other. It seemed that they had never heard of this name. Interesting. After being stunned for a moment, Dai Lu's thin lips curled up as she muttered to herself. There was a flash of light in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Little brother Du, I'm afraid you don't know that the heaven demon old ancestor has not appeared for many years. Even if we were to recommend you, we can only recommend the earth demon old ancestor. But first, you have to tell us why you came to the demon realm. Otherwise, how would we know if you are plotting against the sacred demon palace? It was Song Song of the sacred demon temple. An old man with short hair that resembled steel needles said in a deep voice. The meaning in his words was very cautious, but it was also reasonable. To tell you the truth, I'm here for the upcoming calamity. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with this. Du Xiaofu turned serious and glanced at the crowd. The two progenitors of ice and fire, Fairy Rosy Glow, Song Song, Dai Lu, the Zongshan skeleton, and many others were startled. Du Xiaofu saw everyone's expressions. Needless to say, these were all old monsters who had survived since the Archean Age. Even if they had not experienced the Archean Age catastrophe, they must be very familiar with that period of history and know the horror of the demon god. However, Song Song's next words caused Du Xiaofu to frown even more. Song Song, who had been shocked by Du Xiaofu's identity, had a great change in attitude. His words were a little cold. Many juniors of the sacred demon temple have been to the outside world and brought back news of the outside world. Now, we know about the devil religion's movements and the situation in the outside world. But I can tell you in advance that in the demon realm, at least the sacred demon temple will not participate in this dispute. Even if I take you to the earth demon old ancestor, you will only get the same result. As soon as Song Song opened his mouth, his tone was unusually firm and almost blocked Du Xiaofu's words. It seemed that there was no room for negotiation, and there was even a hint of hostility. This kind of situation was something that he hadn't expected. Du Xiaofu looked at Rosy Cloud's fairy and the two ancestors of ice and fire. They heard Song Song's words and nodded silently. Obviously, they were aware of what was happening in the outside world. The experts of the sacred demon temple seemed to have reached some kind of consensus that they did not intend to intervene in the battle between the outside world and the devil religion. They were trying to stay out of this mess. Du Xiaofu felt a little headache and did not know how to deal with it. He could not bring people to the demon realm and force them to set foot on the battlefield of the devil religion. In his heart, his impression of the sacred monster temple had inevitably worsened. It was also at this moment that the smile on Dai Lu's face grew wider. She seemed to be very satisfied with this result. Let's talk about this later. Du Xiaofu said softly. He stopped talking and turned to look at the rolling magma under his feet. No matter what the sacred demon temple's attitude was, they had to meet the earth demon old ancestor to make a final decision. The most important thing now was to get the 8th spiritual thunder. Well, let's talk about this after the birth of the heavenly flame void thunder. Ice ancestor of the 2 ancestors of ice and fire said. When the others heard this, they fell into silence one after another. They stopped talking and looked at the magma under their feet. In this world of magma, the terrifying temperature continued to soar. In the blazing heat, one could see streaks of electric arcs flickering and constantly changing. There were more and more electric arcs, carrying a terrifying aura. With one strike, a black hole was blasted in the void, emitting black smoke as if it could burn everything. However, it would take a lot of time for the spiritual thunder to be born. Otherwise, these forces would not be waiting here silently. In order to get the spiritual thunder, they would have to face the interference of many experts. It would not be easy. The 8th spiritual thunder, is it called the heavenly flame void thunder? Du Xiaofu murmured. Boss, when the spiritual thunder is born, don't worry about fighting for it. I will help you hold back a few of these people. Du Xiaoyao's voice rang in Du Xiaofu's ears. With his strength, he could indeed hold back several experts present. As for the others, with Du Xiaofu's strength, it should not be too difficult for them to get the spiritual thunder. However, Du Xiaofu did not intend to do so. No need, I will go down and find the spiritual thunder. Du Xiaofu said to Du Xiaoyao, this is a world of magma. The temperature is terrifyingly high. Even with our cultivation, we will feel the heat. You should know that this is the demon realm, the most suitable environment for demon spirits. The heavenly flame void thunder should have an extremely complete spiritual intelligence and even cultivated a human body. Its strength should not be much weaker than mine. The heavenly flame void thunder should be undergoing a metamorphosis. Otherwise, it would not have caused such a huge commotion and attracted so many experts. If we let it complete its metamorphosis, it will be even more difficult to subdue it. Chapter 2576. Du Xiaofu's intention was very clear. He wanted to go down and subdue the heavenly flame void lightning before it truly appeared. If it were others, perhaps it would be extremely difficult to deal with the spirit lightning that had transformed into a human. But Du Xiaofu was different. He already had several spirit lightnings and was confident that in terms of mastery of lightning, there was no one in the world who could surpass him. He still had sufficient confidence in subduing the heavenly flame void lightning. And if he waited until it completed its transformation before making a move, the difficulty would increase significantly. At this time, there was also a group of experts eyeing covetously from the side. At that time, there would probably be many more variables. Might as well take the initiative to attack and merge with the spirit lightning while it was unprepared. The only thing that was disadvantageous to him was the lava down below. This was the territory of the heavenly flame void lightning, so it was very likely that all environmental factors would severely affect his power. It was just that the spirit lightning was seriously too important to him. He could not afford to have too many misgivings. Boss, I'll go down with you. Du Xiaoyao said somewhat worriedly. No need. I'll go alone. You stay here and also observe these people's movements. If they do anything unusual, you take action decisively. Du Xiaofu said. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure suddenly sank, plunging headfirst into the lava beneath his feet. Like a stone falling into a lake, countless lava splashed up, and he was drowned in the scorching waves of lava that surged into the sky. What is that Du Xiaofu doing? Ancestor Fire said hurriedly, looking somewhat anxiously at Ancestor Ice. That brat went down. Second Brother Ice, let's hurry up and follow. Don't let him get the heavenly flame void lightning. As he said that, he was about to follow Du Xiaofu into the lava. Second Brother Fire, what's the rush? Ancestor Ice grabbed Ancestor Fire and said indifferently, how can the heavenly flame void lightning be so easy to obtain? Ancestor Fire immediately panicked, wishing he could point at Ancestor Ice's nose and shout with a flushed face, Second Brother Ice, how many times have I said it? I'm the boss. Such a scene caused little Demon Du, who was standing at the side, to be unable to help but be stunned. This Ancestor Fire's temper was really strange. As long as Ancestor Ice called him second brother, he would immediately divert his attention. However, there was one thing similar to him. In his early years, didn't he also always compete with Du Xiaofu for the boss position? Ancestor Ice's words. The lava's the heavenly flame void lightning is terrifying. The temperature is the lava. Even we feel it is extremely hot up there, not to mention the lava. Song 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 song. The heavenly flame void lightnings should have another breakthrough. How can it dealing it and subduing it? Rainbow 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 rosies rosy royce rosy 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 rosies row red roar rosins rotilis nns and red royce red row. That brat doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and directly dived into the lava. He wouldn't be burned to ashes, right? Is he the void is? That is? Is. Song Shan Skeleton laughed coldly, as if it really wanted Du Xiaofu to be burned to ashes. Mummy, I dare you to repeat what you just said. Be careful that I don't beat you up so badly that even your mother can't recognize you. You won't even know how you died. Du Xiaoyao glared at Song Shan Skeleton. The golden light on his body shone brightly as he charged towards Song Shan Skeleton with a terrifying aura. Song Shan Skeleton's face changed drastically under the impact of the powerful aura. A surge of energy also erupted from his body. However, he was still forced to retreat dozens of steps before he could resist Du Xiaoyao's aura. After that, he didn't dare to speak rudely anymore. He could only stand silently by the side. Who are you to criticize my boss? Du Xiaoyao snorted coldly. He had no intention of being merciless. Instead, he continued to pay attention to what was going on under the lava. Based on his character, he wanted to fight Song Shan Skeleton directly and teach him a lesson. However, his boss's orders were the most important. The sacred monster temple, Heishui River, and some other rogue cultivators became solemn when they saw what happened. They knew Song Shan Skeleton's strength very well. If they were to fight him one-on-one, no one would dare to say that they could beat him. However, in front of Du Xiaoyao, the golden-robed youth, Song Shan Skeleton was defeated in a single blow. This showed how powerful Du Xiaoyao was. Many people had heard of Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao. The Rock Emperor was even more infamous than Du Xiaoyao. From this, one could infer how powerful the Demon King was. Everyone just wait here. I'll follow Brother Rock Emperor to explore the lava. Suddenly, Dai Lu laughed. He waved the feather fan in his hand twice and then disappeared with a flick of his wrist. Then, his figure slowly faded and disappeared from his original spot. Above the lava below, there was a splash of lava, and then it was submerged in the surging heat flow. The two ancestors of ice and fire, Song Song and Saixia Fairy, looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Before everyone could react, the man who was standing close to Song Shan Skeleton also let go of his arms and fell to the ground. Ownerless broken sword, he also went down. Saixia Fairy said, "Why don't we go down and take a look?" The ice progenitor frowned and looked at Song Song and Saixia Fairy with uncertainty. Although the lava was extremely dangerous, Heishui River's Dai Lu had already gone down. They couldn't just watch as the heavenly flame void lightning fell into Heishui River's hands. It's good to go down and take a look. The heavenly flame void lightning must not fall into Dai Lu's hands. However, my true form is a pine tree, and Saixia Fairy is formed from colorful mist. Both of us are restrained by the fire attribute. Only you two, one of you is of the fire attribute, while the other is of the fire attribute. There shouldn't be any problems. Song Song said. Then the two of us will go down. You two stay here and help. Be careful of that blood disciple. The ice progenitor glanced at the blood-robed man from Heishui River and warned. Du Xiaofu's previous guess that he was the Heishui monarch was not correct. Don't worry, leave this to us. You must also be careful of Dai Lu. That guy is cunning and ruthless. Don't fall into his trap. Saixia Fairy said, nodding her snow-white chin. I said I wanted to go down, but you stopped me. Fire progenitor roared in dissatisfaction. The ice progenitor rolled her eyes and didn't say anything. She just shouted, "Let's go!" The two of them descended into the lava at the same time. After Du Xiaofu, Dai Lu, and the two ancestors of ice and fire left one after another, only Cong Song, Saixia Fairy, Songshan Skeleton, Heishui River's blood disciple, and Du Xiaoyao were left. Everyone kept their mouths shut, silently standing in the lava world, waiting for the final result. Chapter 2577. Du Xiaofu continued to sink into the lava. Outside his body, the azure spirit armor had already been summoned, covering the surface of his body. Outside his body, there was also a profound qi shield, resisting the terrifying scorching heat. Around him, he was surrounded by molten flows that looked like molten iron, bubbling with gurgling sounds. As he sank, other than the rolling and burning lava, there were also bolts of lightning shuttling back and forth. They were like snakes in the water, flicking their tongues. These lightning snakes all had an abnormally strong attack power. These lightning snakes should have been accidentally released when the heavenly flame hollow thunder was breaking through. Du Xiaofu thought to himself. He could feel that if he removed the blue spirit armor and did not use his profound qi to protect his body, these lightning snakes would cause his immortal Xian body to feel pain when they struck his body. A bolt of spirit thunder and an electric arc unintentionally released could produce such an effect. The strength of the heavenly flame hollow thunder could be seen from this. "We're here." Just as Du Xiaofu was thinking, the scene in front of him suddenly changed. The fiery red color that had filled the surroundings suddenly turned black. All the light was withdrawn, turning into a gloomy darkness. It was as if the scorching noon had suddenly turned dark. At the same time, the all-pervasive terrifying heat also disappeared. It seemed to have become much gentler, and the heat on his body was no longer as strong as before. However, Du Xiaofu discovered that the profound qi shield outside his body was twisting and flowing as if it was about to melt. This scene caused Du Xiaofu's expression to involuntarily become solemn. He knew that the environment here was not better than in the lava. Instead, it had become even worse. This heavenly flame hollow thunder has actually been cultivated to such a level. Du Xiaofu muttered. The restrained fiery red light and the warmth he felt on his body were all just an illusion. There was only one reason for this phenomenon. When things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. In this place, the power of the heavenly flame hollow thunder had reached an extreme. I didn't expect that someone would be able to break into my territory. A middle-aged man's voice sounded in Du Xiaofu's ears. Under the probing of the power of the origin spirit, he discovered a dark figure standing quietly in the void of this dark space. This dark figure looked like a cluster of black flames burning. The space around its body was scorched through by the scorching heat, and it was very uniform. Such a scene made it seem as if there was a black border around it, as if it was branded in the space and merged with the void. Needless to say, this dark figure was undoubtedly the heavenly flame void lightning. As expected of the heavenly flame void lightning. It probably developed intelligence and started cultivating since the ancient era, right? Du Xiaofu said with a smile. Judging from its aura, the heavenly flame void lightning was already at the peak of the Saint Demon realm. Its true cultivation time shouldn't be much shorter than Hualei Laozu's. Just the energy that unintentionally leaked out was already so terrifying. However, under the dual effects of Du Xiaofu's Xian Qi barrier and blue spirit armor, the heat waves from the heavenly flame void lightning were unable to cause any harm to him. "Human kid, you're right," the heavenly flame void lightning said in a low voice, waves of heat rising and falling as it spoke. "You came here because you want to take advantage of me. You're also right. You have two choices now. Submit to me directly, or I defeat you and make you submit to me." Du Xiaofu said indifferently as he extended two fingers. He wasn't surprised that the heavenly flame void lightning could see that he was a human at a glance. Its strength wasn't inferior to his in the first place, so it was normal that it could see through him. If it weren't for his various methods, he probably wouldn't have dared to say such words. "Human, don't you think you're too arrogant?" You think you can subdue me? The heavenly flame void lightning's tone became even darker as it spoke. Since that's the case, I have no choice but to attack, Du Xiaofu said as he took a step forward. He wasn't an arrogant person, so he naturally knew that such a powerful demon wouldn't submit to him so easily. Subduing the heavenly flame void lightning would inevitably take some effort. He already had 7 spiritual lightnings in his body, and he also had the lightning martial vein. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of the heavenly flame void lightning. As Du Xiaofu spoke, he made his move. Boom, boom, boom. A few explosions sounded in the sky, and then several balls of light rushed out from between his eyebrows. They bloomed with different colors and circled above Du Xiaofu's head. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, thick bolts of lightning struck down, carrying with them an aura that could destroy the world. Accompanied by waves of extremely terrifying pressure, as if an ancient god had descended into the world, making people want to prostrate themselves. This scene made the heavenly flame void lightning tremble for a moment. "This is," the heavenly flame void lightning said in a daze, "this is the aura of my kind. There are actually so many." He quickly determined that the balls of light above the purple-robed youth were spiritual lightnings of the same origin as him. There were actually as many as 8. Furthermore, looking at it, it seemed like these spiritual lightnings had already been completely fused together by the purple-robed human and were under his control. This kind of scene made him feel extremely aghast. That's right. These are all of your kind, spiritual lightnings formed when the heavenly Tao fell in the ancient era. Now, they've already been fused together by me, and the next one is you. Du Xiaofu said, "How do you know all this and how did you do it?" The heavenly flame void lightning's voice started trembling somewhat, and he was somewhat incoherent. He wasn't afraid, but he was amazed. This human youth was actually clear about his and these spiritual lightning's origins. One had to know that from the ancient era until now, it had long been buried in the long river of time. Extremely few people knew. In addition, 7 spiritual lightnings could actually fuse into one. Just what kind of physique did one need to be able to do it? Is there any point in asking these useless things? Submit. Du Xiaofu chuckled and raised his hand to move. The silvernet soul-devouring lightning, earth-crumbling heavenly lightning, golden crow heaven-burning lightning, great sky lightning, 3,000 jolting lightning, soul-extinguishing divine lightning, and 9 nether devil lightning above his head moved together, erupting with a lightning light screen, bombarding down on the heavenly flame void lightning. 7 spiritual lightnings' energy poured out, emitting 7 colors, intertwining with each other, converging into a vast stretch of lightning, magnificent and beautiful. However, within this beauty, there was a terrifying aura that could destroy everything. Chapter 2578. Faced with Du Xiaofu's actions, the man formed by the heavenly flame void lightning put away his astonishment, and his tone was no longer as shocked as before. "That's good too. I've just broken through, and I'm only 1 step away from the Sky Sage stage, but you've brought 7 spiritual lightnings to me. Why don't you let me kill you and devour the 7 spiritual lightnings? That'll allow me to take another step forward." The man spoke, and his tone was filled with greed. He was not afraid of Du Xiaofu. Even if a human brat's cultivation was extraordinary, he still did not think much of him. If he had not broken through, he might not have been completely confident that he could defeat this purple-robed youth. But now, he was confident that he could obtain the 7 spiritual lightnings and devour them to increase his strength. How could he let go of such an opportunity? "You want to steal my spiritual lightnings, and I want to subdue and merge with you. Let's fight and see who will succeed in the end," Du Xiaofu said softly. Before entering the lava, the sacred monster hall, Blackwater River, and the others had been waiting above. He had also thought that the heavenly flame void lightning would be easy to subdue since it was still in the process of evolving. However, what he saw now was that it had already completed its breakthrough, and was even stronger than him in terms of strength. This caused Du Xiaofu to no longer have any contempt for him. Only by giving it his all would he have a chance to take the spiritual lightnings for himself. "Brat, Since you've come to court death, I won't hold back. Once I devour your 7 spiritual lightnings, I'll definitely be able to gather all the remaining spiritual lightnings, control the complete law of lightning, and become a heavenly body. The heavenly flame void lightning said, "You want to become a heavenly body? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue?" Du Xiaofu retorted fiercely. But the heavenly flame void lightning's words made his heart uneasy. It turned out that if the 36 bolts of spiritual lightning that were formed when the ancestor fell could be merged together, he would be able to control the complete law of electricity. He would even have a chance to surpass the heavenly saint stage and use it to merge with the heavenly Tao. Fu Yibai, Huale Laozu, and the others had come together to ask him to find and fuse all the spirit lightning. Could it be that they had such an idea? That's right. Only by attaining the body of the heavenly Tao would one be able to fight against the demon god. However, would the final outcome be the same as the primordial era? 8 desolate thunder. Rise. While Du Xiaofu was thinking, he exhaled and unleashed the lightning profound. Large amounts of runes flew out from his body and filled the air. The 7 spiritual thunders above his head were guided and exploded. Streaks of lightning bolts poured out and blasted down from the sky, tearing the endless void apart and annihilating it. In every part of this area, there were continuous explosions of thunder. The entire space seemed to be boiling violently, and the momentum was terrifying. Good timing! The heavenly flame void lightning roared, and the dark figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. However, immediately after, a ball of lightning formed, and it was also suffused with a dark and hazy black color. Streaks of eerie black lightning shot out soundlessly, striking the void and forming a series of deep black holes. When the heavenly flame void lightning finished speaking, the dark and hazy thunderbolts suddenly swept out and directly charged into the 7 spiritual thunders that Du Xiaofu was controlling. Everywhere he passed, space was scorched, and strands of green smoke curled up into the air. It dragged out a long black trajectory behind him, and it was like a tail of flames. "Human brat, you think you can be so arrogant in front of me? Today, I'll let you know that the expert closest to the heavenly saint stage is far from someone you can fight against." The heavenly flame void lightning pounced forward, charging through the boundless might of the 7 bolts of spiritual lightning. Even under Du Xiaofu's control, the power of the 7 spiritual thunders could not stop its footsteps. Soon, the heavenly flame void lightning dragged a long tail and directly collided with one of the 7 spiritual thunders, the 3,000 quaking thunder. Boom! The 2 spiritual thunders suddenly collided, and an earth-shaking roar erupted. The space shook violently, as if it was about to collapse. The shattered energy turned into mysterious runes that filled the sky and danced in every corner. The space was directly smashed into nothingness by such a vast power. Amidst such might, one could vaguely hear a whimper. After a collision, the 3,000 quaking thunder was directly sent flying, and a pitch-black crack appeared on the ball of light. Du Xiaofu's eyebrows twitched, and he was actually a little frightened. The crack on the 3,000 quaking thunder did not heal for a long time. It was obvious that it had suffered a great injury. It had actually suffered such a loss in a single exchange. This caused Du Xiaofu's heart to involuntarily become even more serious. Only 1 step away from the heavenly saint realm. Half-step heavenly saint? Du Xiaofu softly muttered to himself. This heavenly flame void lightning was already the strongest opponent he'd fought until now. Other than the demon gods, only East Deity, West Demon, Nenru, North Addict, Central Divinity, Huale Laozu, and the Dragon Clan's old Azure Dragon dared to say that they could suppress it. It was likely that even Long Huang of the Dragon Clan, who was an existence of the clan's foundation, was only on par with the heavenly flame void lightning. Not long ago, Du Xiaofu was severely injured by Long Huang's space scar. At this time, facing the spiritual thunders that had been cultivated for countless years, it did not seem too optimistic. One had to know that experts who had reached this level had already reached an extremely terrifying level in the level of profound meaning. Boy, obediently hand over the 7 spiritual thunders, and I can spare your life. The great In Sky Thunder, golden crow sky-burning thunder, and several other spiritual thunders were still roaring and sweeping, each with a domineering force, towards the heavenly flame void lightning. However, the black spiritual thunders seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll, shuttling back and forth between the other spiritual thunders, avoiding each attack. Half-step heavenly saint realm, so what? In the end, you're still one step away. Du Xiaofu coldly replied. The thought of training himself rose in his heart. After entering the complete saint realm in the ancient desolate continent, his strength had not improved too quickly. The illusory heavenly saint realm seemed to be too far away, and it was impossible to touch it all. This time, having such a spiritual thunders as an opponent for him to train himself was very difficult to ask for. One had to know that such an expert was extremely rare in this world. When he had faced Long Huang back then, he could only be trampled on. But now, although this heavenly flame void lightning was not weaker than Long Huang, it would not be as easy to defeat him as Long Huang. This was because he had a trump card that no one else had, which could restrain the spiritual thunders. Chapter 2579. Translator. H2 Mr. As Du Xiaofu spoke, a silver light suddenly rose from his body, covering the surface of his body. These silver light rays were like the meridians in his body, twisting and turning to form a strange pattern. It looked like a net, flashing with the light of lightning. When this scene appeared, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended from the air, fiercely suppressing the heavenly flame void lightning. This is the heavenly flame void lightning, which was shuttling back and forth among the several bolts of spiritual lightning, emitted a frightened fluctuation. It was clearly shocked. Thunder martial vein. It's actually the thunder martial vein. The heavenly flame void lightning cried out in fear and quickly fled into the distance, transforming back into the black man's figure. It stared closely at Du Xiaofu and asked, "Why do you have this kind of martial vein in your body? Could it be that you're the descendant of that person?" He was extremely shocked and looked at the purple-robed youth in front of him in disbelief. How could he not know about this kind of martial vein? It was the martial vein that the heavenly Tao had personally carved into the body of his descendant before the fall of the primordial era. It could be said to be of the same origin as him. The moment this kind of martial vein appeared, the heavenly flame void lightning felt an extreme sense of fear rise from the depths of its heart, as if it wanted to bow down and worship the purple-robed youth in front of it. This feeling was not because of the purple-robed youth in front of it, but because of its reverence for the heavenly Tao's majesty. It was a kind of natural suppression. "Congratulations, you're right," Du Xiaofu said indifferently. The purple robe on his body fluttered without the wind, wantonly fluttering. With a thought, the thunder martial vein that covered the surface of his body rushed out, turning into a giant lightning net that quickly spread out around him. It expanded explosively against the wind, enveloping an area of thousands of feet in radius. This giant lightning net was like a huge cage, enveloping the heavenly flame void lightning and the other 7 bolts of spiritual lightning. Thick bolts of lightning collided and intertwined with each other, releasing an unparalleled power. "Kid, even if you are a descendant of the heavenly Tao and possess the thunder martial vein, it is still wishful thinking for you to subdue me." After the initial shock, the heavenly flame void lightning quickly calmed down and said, "Your lightning martial vein is unable to trap me. Today, I'll let you experience what the power of laws is." The loud voice of the heavenly flame void thunder reverberated in this space. A dark figure appeared, and the body of spiritual thunder appeared again. At the same time, all the lightning around him quickly retracted and entered his body. For a moment, only Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and the 7 spiritual thunders were left on the field. They were still shining brightly. As soon as the heavenly flame void lightning was unleashed, an indescribable feeling suddenly welled up in the surrounding area. Even Du Xiaofu's heart trembled violently. "Brat, you can't beat me!" The heavenly flame void lightning shouted loudly, and the void rumbled. Then, Du Xiaofu saw that the heavenly flame void lightning's body did not display any terrifying power. However, there were waves of strange energy fluctuations spreading out. Under the influence of this power, the silver silk soul-devouring lightning, the earth-shattering lightning, the golden crow sky-burning lightning, the great Een sky lightning, the 3,000 quaking lightning, the soul-extinguishing divine lightning, and the 9 underworlds demonic lightning all let out whimpers at the same time, as if they had sensed something terrifying and were threatened. The terrifying power released by the 7 spiritual thunders was withdrawn in an instant, and they were no longer under Du Xiaofu's control. Not only that, but the huge light net formed by the thunder martial vein shook violently as if it had been blown by a hurricane. It twisted and changed shape, and it looked like it would collapse at any time. Such a scene made Du Xiaofu turn pale with fright. He fully operated the thunder martial vein and communicated with the 7 spiritual thunders, but it did not have much effect. The martial vein and the spiritual thunders seemed to have fallen into a swamp, and they were sticky and out of his control. Is this the power of the law? The power of ultimacy cannot resist it at all. Du Xiaofu could not calm down. He had not expected this situation at all. Back when he was with the dragons, Long Huang's space scar carried the embryonic form of the law of space, and it directly injured him so severely that he did not even have the power to escape. Now, the change that the heavenly flame void lightning displayed was the embodiment of the law of lightning, and it directly affected his control of the thunder martial vein and the 7 spiritual thunders. This was a height that Du Xiaofu could not reach at the moment. At this moment, his heart was full of shock, and at the same time, he was endlessly fascinated. However, Du Xiaofu knew that what the heavenly flame void lightning displayed was only a trace of the law of lightning, and it could only be regarded as the embryonic form of the law of lightning. If one wanted to completely control the law of lightning, only a powerhouse in the heavenly saint stage could do it. Moreover, it would not be an ordinary heavenly saint stage powerhouse, and it would not be inferior to his ancestor before he controlled the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly flame void lightning was really so powerful, he would not have the slightest ability to resist and could only be trampled on by it. Du Xiaofu frowned, and his mind raced as he searched for a way to deal with it. It could be said that the heavenly flame void lightning completely restrained his attainments in the Tao of lightning at this moment. However, Du Xiaofu's methods were not limited to the law of lightning. If that's all you have, I'm afraid it won't be a problem for me. Without much hesitation, the heavenly purple gold tower appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand. At the same time, a sword light that seemed to penetrate the heavens and the earth rose into the sky in the blink of an eye. It condensed in front of him, and then fiercely slashed at the heavenly flame void lightning. Since the law of lightning was restrained, he would use other methods. Emptiness of heaven and earth. Du Xiaofu roared, and the endless energy in this space gathered toward the sword light. It was constantly being absorbed, causing it to rapidly grow. It was like a pillar that reached the heavens as it fiercely slashed down. "Kid, it's useless. You can't beat me." The heavenly flame void lightning cried out in a deep voice. After which, an incomparably thick lightning bolt shot out from its body. This bolt of lightning spanned across the entire space, and it was thicker than a mountain. It was suffused with a dim light, and it fiercely collided with Du Xiaofu's sword light. Boom! A loud explosion rang out as the two forces collided, and they tore each other apart. They turned into runes that were like waves that swept through the heavens and the earth. The space looked like a piece of paper that had been torn apart, and a terrifying gap was formed, forming a bottomless abyss. The destructive energy shot out and swept through everything, creating a vacuum in the world below the lava. Chapter 2580. Translator. H2H2 Mr. Such a terrifying battle caused a huge commotion. It was as if thousands of mountains were collapsing and thousands of waves were roaring. Outside the battlefield, 4 figures dived into the churning magma. They were Dai Lu from Blackwater River, the 2 ancestors of ice and fire from the sacred demon palace, and the fierce man known as Ownerless Broken Sword. After Du Xiaofu, they wanted to check out the situation of the heavenly flame void lightning. When the heavenly flame void lightning and Du Xiaofu had first clashed, they had already sensed it. But just as they were about to approach the two, they were suddenly attacked by a huge force. The surging energy waves were like a raging sea. The four of them were like a few insects in a raging tide. They were directly thrown into the clouds, unable to control themselves. The four of them were extremely shocked. The demonic chi in their bodies circulated rapidly, trying to control their bodies. But in the aftermath of the energy waves, they could only protect themselves from being injured. It was impossible for them to break free from the current situation. In the center of the battlefield, the huge spatial crack did not close for a long time. It was open like the giant mouth of the Demon King. It was awe-inspiring. When all the shattered energy was annihilated, a fiery red liquid poured in from the gap in the spatial abyss. It carried a blazing heat and filled the vacuum in an instant, forming a sea of magma. It was a fiery red world. This was the magma of the lava world. It had entered this place through the spatial crack. The magma surged and bubbled. When it exploded, it was a ball of fire. In this sea of magma, two figures moved separately. The heavenly flame void lightning's main body existed in a dark state. As for Du Xiaofu, his body was wrapped in the azure spirit armor, and there was a sharp light shining from it. A trace of purple-gold blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. It floated in the hot magma and was instantly burned to ashes. The heavenly flame void lightning did not suffer any damage from the exchange of blows, but Du Xiaofu was seriously injured. The thunder martial vein outside his body was broken and dissipated in the surging magma. The 7 spiritual lightnings were scattered, but they quickly flew back and were absorbed into Du Xiaofu's body. "Human, what right do you have to defeat me?" The heavenly flame hollow thunder roared. As it spoke, it moved rapidly within the sea of lava. The strange fluctuation of laws spread out once again and rapidly grew stronger. A terrifying pressure descended from the sea of lava, directly suppressing Du Xiaofu's body and soul. He could only feel a terrifying and peerless power suppressing every inch of his flesh and blood. The lightning profundity that he had grasped was severely restricted. He was unable to use it to his heart's content before the heavenly flame void lightning. Can I really only be restricted by him? Du Xiaofu, who was wrapped in magma, narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself. He knew that if he relied on other means to defeat the heavenly flame void lightning today, it would be wishful thinking. The difference in strength made it difficult for him to cause any harm to the heavenly flame void lightning. He had the thunder martial vein, which could restrain the spiritual lightnings. But now, under the influence of the embryonic form of the laws, the thunder martial vein did not seem to be effective. "I don't believe this." Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth and the purple-gold heavenly tower disappeared from his hand. The profound qi in his body began to circulate wildly. It rampaged through his limbs, bones, and meridians. It was like a surging river, letting out earth-shaking rumbles. Then, the meridians on his skin bulged and crawled all over his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. His handsome face was also covered with bulging veins, making him look extremely terrifying. "Thunder martial vein, open for me again," Du Xiaofu shouted in a deep voice. He waved his arms as if he was lifting a mountain, lifting it with the force of millions of kilograms. The light in his eyes was no longer there. They were completely red. Following this shout, Du Xiaofu's body glowed. Under the boundless pressure, his body lit up one after another, and the thunder martial vein appeared one by one. However, the martial vein that was revealed was actually blood red. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Under the immense pressure, his immortal Xian body was cracking. Blood flowed out and merged into the magma sea, being burned to ashes. Under Du Xiaofu's control, the thunder martial vein finally left the surface of his body. It rose bit by bit and then expanded. "Silvernet soul-devouring lightning, come out for me!" Du Xiaofu shouted again. From between his eyebrows, the silvernet soul-devouring lightning rushed out. However, it did not show too much power. It only looked like a ball of light and was arranged on the top of his head. "Earth-shattering lightning, come out for me!" Du Xiaofu's voice almost jumped out from his throat. Under the control of his mind, the earth-shattering lightning moved gently to his feet and rotated gently. "Golden crow sky-burning lightning, come out for me! Moon sky lightning, come out for me!" 3,000 quaking lightning, come out for me. Soul-extinguishing lightning, come out for me. One shout after another came out from Du Xiaofu's mouth. In the end, his voice became unusually hoarse. Under the immense pressure, his lips were trembling. It could be seen that the power of the embryonic form of the heavenly flame void lightning had reached a terrifying level. Heh, laughable human, are you seeking your own death here? The heavenly flame void lightning chuckled with complete disdain. It did not take Du Xiaofu's actions seriously at all. Under the restraint of its power of law, how could the other party's little attainments in lightning profound enter its eyes? It could only firmly suppress him. The power of the heavenly flame void lightning's main body was still growing non-stop. A bolt of lightning even more terrifying than before was currently forming, fluctuating with an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. I said long ago that I could still spare your life if you hand over the 7 bolts of spiritual lightning on you. However, it's already too late now. After I kill you, I'll personally come and take them myself. Descendant of the Heavenly Tao clan, even though you're already sufficiently extraordinary, in front of me, you can only lose your life. I still have to thank you for finding the 7 bolts of spiritual lightning for me and saving me a lot of trouble. Devouring them will allow me to advance a step further and reach the heavenly saint realm. The heavenly flame void lightning laughed loudly, feeling extremely carefree in its heart. In its eyes, not only was this human doing useless work, but he was also courting death. It could already imagine that the purple-robed youth in front of it would be killed by it, and the 7 bolts of spiritual lightning would also be controlled by it. Chapter 2581. The heavenly flame void lightning proudly imagined that after devouring these 7 bolts of spiritual lightning, as long as he could find the remaining ones, he would have a high chance of fusing with the complete law of lightning, surpassing the heavenly saint realm and achieving the heavenly Tao. That's right, just like the purple-robed youth's ancestor in the primordial era. At that time, the entire world would be under his control. He would surpass everything and be supreme, above all living beings, and no one would be able to defeat him. As he imagined this, the heavenly flame void lightning became more and more carefree. However, just as he was endlessly fantasizing and feeling great pleasure, Du Xiaofu's final shout fell. You seem to be a little too pleased with yourself. 9 underworld demonic lightning, come out. As these words came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, the 7th bolt of spiritual lightning he had obtained from Jialo Jumi rushed out. After the 9 underworld demonic lightning rushed out from between his eyebrows, it spread out around Du Xiaofu's body like the other 6 bolts of spiritual lightning, completely surrounding him. After this scene appeared, an unusual pressure rippled from the magma sea. It was exactly the same as the ripple emitted from the heavenly flame void lightning. This kind of power directly suppressed the power released by the heavenly flame void lightning. The 7 bolts of spiritual lightning were embedded in Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein, and there was a mysterious connection between them. This mysterious connection was established on a brand in Du Xiaofu's mind. It was an extremely strange pattern. It looked especially complicated, but also extremely simple. At a glance, one could see countless scenes taking shape. There was the rotation of the universe, the rise and fall of the sun and moon, and the evolution of all things in the world. There was wind, rain, thunder, lightning, water and fire mixing, and the birth of the mighty power of heaven and earth. There was the worship of living beings, devout prayers, and the gathering of vast wish power. Everything in the mortal world was included in these scenes, and there was nothing that could not be tolerated. Countless scenes, intense and spectacular, colliding and intertwining, were engraved with the patterns and rules of all things in the world. However, if one were to observe it carefully, all of this was like an illusion that vanished in an instant. Only those simple and obscure lines were glowing faintly. At this moment, among these lines, there was an extremely bright one. It was like a winding electric snake. It was connected to Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and then connected to the 7 spiritual thunderbolts outside his body. This was the brand of the laws engraved on Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. It was a fortuitous encounter that Du Xiaofu had obtained when he traveled down the river of time in the tomb of the Heaven Dao. According to his deduction, it was something left behind by the ancestors of the Du family. After that, Du Xiaofu also tried to comprehend this mark. Unfortunately, with his understanding of the universal Dharma and logos, he could not grasp the trajectory of these laws and could not grasp the mysteries within. Therefore, he did not deliberately touch these things and allowed the law imprints in his mind to lie there. This was because he believed that as long as he comprehended enough, he would be able to grasp the real laws one day. Today, after the heavenly flame void thunder used the embryonic form of the laws and forced him repeatedly, his understanding of the thunder profound had improved a little. It was this improvement that allowed him to touch the law imprints in the depths of his primordial spirit, allowing him to glimpse a trace of the embryonic form of the laws. So this is the law, Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. With a thought, the silver net soul-devouring thunder, earth-shattering thunder, and the other spiritual thunderbolts all exploded with a boom. Under the effect of the law imprints, the 7 spiritual thunderbolts finally released their auras, each erupting with a terrifying and awe-inspiring aura. The power of the law released by the heavenly flame void thunder could no longer affect Du Xiaofu at all. The thunder martial vein and the 7 spiritual thunderbolts were no longer restrained. What's going on? This change made the heavenly flame void thunder's heart tremble violently. It felt a dry feeling in its throat and even its voice trembled. The power released by the purple-robed young man also frightened it. The power of the law. This is also the power of the law. Soon, the heavenly flame void thunder shouted. He finally understood that the young man at this time had also comprehended a trace of the embryonic form of the law of thunder and lightning. Moreover, his mastery was more comprehensive than his own. At this time, the absolute advantage that he had previously occupied was disintegrated in an instant and disappeared without a trace. Weren't you very confident before? Now it's my turn. Heavenly thunder punishment. Du Xiaofu shouted loudly. His voice transmitted, causing the surrounding sea of lava to boil even more. With the support of the law of thunder and lightning, the thunder martial veins scattered around his body suddenly expanded like a large net of thunder and lightning sprinkled into the sea. Every thunder and lightning became extremely thick and strong. At the same time, the 7 spiritual thunderbolts that were arranged in different directions also emitted blazing light and thunder roared loudly. Different colored thunderbolts intertwined with each other, carrying a power that could split the heavens and earth. It was as if a god had suddenly become angry and struck a severe punishment to the world from the 9 heavens. Densely packed thunderbolts of different colors rapidly struck down, crisscrossing the sea of lava. Soon, the heavenly flame void thunder was completely submerged. Boy, even if you have mastered the law of thunder and lightning, you can't do anything to me. I'll remember today's grudge for now. One day, I'll personally take back the 7 spiritual thunderbolts on you. The heavenly flame void thunder calmed down and shouted loudly. He knew that the purple-robed young man's cultivation was weaker than his. If he wanted to leave, the purple-robed young man would not be able to stop him even if he wanted to. At worst, he would temporarily give up on fighting for the 7 spiritual thunderbolts on him. As long as he could find the rest of the spiritual thunderbolts first, he would be able to enter the Heaven Sage stage very quickly. At that time, he would come back to take revenge for today's grudge. The 7 spiritual thunderbolts would still be in his bag. At the same time, the heavenly flame void thunder made a move in his heart. The black spiritual thunderbolt directly swept in the opposite direction of Du Xiaofu at an extremely fast speed, trying to get rid of the purple-robed young man's heavenly thunder punishment and escape. Want to leave? Do you think you can? Du Xiaofu said coldly. He gently waved his arm, and the thunderbolts in the sky were guided at the same time. They turned around and chased after the heavenly flame void thunder. The terrible thunderbolts violently blasted out, tearing cracks in the space one after another. The entire sea of lava was stirred up, and monstrous waves surged into the sky. In the volcanic space where Du Xiaoyao, Song Song and Cai Xiaoferi of the sacred demon temple, the crimson-robed man of the Blackwater River, and the rogue cultivators were, an incomparably ferocious wave of magma suddenly surged up. Before anyone could react, the lava filled the entire space and then erupted from the crater of the volcano. Chapter 2582. At this moment, Een Mountain's end was shrouded in darkness without any light. However, the blazing lava gushed up from the volcano's crater, instantly illuminating the entire mountain range. The crater of the volcano exploded under the impact, expanding by 100 times. Lava sprayed into the 9 heavens and 10 earths, like a sky full of bright fireworks exploding. Fire rain burst forth, magnificent and brilliant. One figure after another was tossed into the sky amidst the rain of fire. Damn, what happened? A demon spirit shouted as the demonic energy in his body circulated continuously, controlling his body. Fortunately, all the demon spirits that came to Een Mountain's end were powerful and didn't suffer any serious injuries under such circumstances. One by one, they displayed their cultivation and stabilized their bodies one after another. Then, they separated into their respective camps and gathered in the distance. Could it be that the heavenly flame void lightning has appeared? Then why didn't the people who went down earlier come out? Did something happen? Yes, the ice and fire ancestors, Dai Lu, the ownerless broken sword, and that human brat from the outside world called Du Xiaofu, none of them came out. The demon spirits were all shocked, suspecting that the heavenly flame void lightning had appeared, causing such a terrifying scene. If that was really the case, the heavenly flame void lightning was too powerful. It wasn't something they could fight against. It wouldn't be easy to subdue it. Just as everyone was exclaiming, they saw a ball of light rush out from the crater of the volcano. This ball of light was dark in color, and its aura didn't seem very terrifying. However, wherever it passed, the void was silently annihilated. A pitch-black trace formed behind it, like a flame tail, and black smoke was rising from it. Such a scene was extremely terrifying. Heavenly flame void lightning. That's the heavenly flame void lightning. A demon spirit shouted as he pointed at the dark ball of light. Quick, stop it. Attack together, don't let it escape. Catch it, and the heavenly flame void lightning will be mine. One by one, the demon spirits roared and attacked at the same time. Terrifying attacks swept out like a tsunami. Everyone only had a single thought in their hearts. They had to stop the heaven flame void lightning. As for who would obtain it in the end, that would depend on their own ability. Song Song and Saixia Fairy of the Sacred Demon Palace, the blood-robed man named Blood Disciple of the Blackwater River, the skeleton of the Tsang Mountain, and the others all began to move. Only Du Xiaoyao stood quietly in the air. Her eyes shone with a golden light as she stared at the crater of the volcano. This was because Du Xiaofu had not come out yet. Scram! The heavenly flame void lightning suddenly roared when it was intercepted by 4 peak stage sacred demon realm experts. As soon as these words resounded, the sky was torn apart by a bolt of lightning, and it ran from the extreme east to the extreme west. It was like the heavens had opened its enormous mouth. Boom! Thunder roared. Accompanied by a zigzagging lightning bolt, it landed directly in the middle of the group of people who had tried to stop him. As the thunderbolt struck down, a crack that stretched across the entire mountain range was torn open on the ground. Song Song, Saixia Fairy, Song Shan Skeleton, Blood Disciple, and the others were all pushed back by this attack. Song Song's body was a pine tree. After being struck by the thunderbolt, his skin was charred black. Song Shan Skeleton's mummified skull had a hole in it, but no blood flowed out of it. The aura of Saixia Fairy and Blood Disciple weakened by 50% at the same time. They spat out blood and retreated. As for those below the peak stage sacred demon realm, everyone was directly blasted to the ground and fell into the huge crack. There was no movement for a long time. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Under the attack of the heavenly flame void lightning, it was so terrifying that it caused great damage to everyone. We can't fight it head-on. Retreat! Song Song shouted softly and retreated to the distance. He could not help but be shocked in his heart. Saixia Fairy, Songshan Skeleton, Blood Disciple, and the others saw this and did not dare to attack the heavenly flame void lightning again. They just retreated to the distance in fear, making a path for it. What a terrifying heavenly flame void lightning. It's so powerful. Fairy Kai Xia raised her sleeve and gently wiped away the blood on her lips, and said in horror. Hearing this, the others nodded in agreement. If they were hit by that terrifying thunder attack again, no one could withstand it. However, what surprised these people was that after the heavenly flame void lightning's attack, it did not stay in this area for a moment. Instead, it rushed into the distance in the rain of fire. This scene made them feel puzzled, but at the same time, they breathed a sigh of relief and rejoiced. If the heavenly flame void lightning was hostile and insisted on killing them, with its terrifying strength, one or two of the sacred demon realm powerhouses present might really be killed. Why didn't ice and fire come out? Did something happen? Song Song was greatly alarmed as he watched the heavenly flame void lightning fly away. As soon as his words came out, Saixia Fairy's pretty face was also covered with a dignified expression. Blood Disciple from the Blackwater Riverside also looked at the crater of the volcano. Only that Song Mountain Skeleton had a gloating expression on its face, but it seemed to be taking pleasure in the other's misfortune. The heavenly flame void lightning is so powerful. How can that human boy still be alive? He must have become a corpse at this time, swallowed by the lava, and not even a trace of him is left. Song Shan Skeleton laughed sinisterly. Because of the shock that Du Xiaoyao had given him earlier, it had caused him to harbor some hatred towards Du Xiaofu in his heart. He wished that the purple-robed youth would die in the magma. As for the ice and fire ancestors of the sacred demon temple, Dai Lu of the Blackwater River, and the ownerless broken sword, who was also a rogue cultivator, he did not care whether they were dead or alive. Damn it, if you want to die, I'll help you immediately. Song Shan Skeleton's words made Du Xiaoyao furious. However, just as he was about to kill Song Shan Skeleton, a huge movement came from the crater of the volcano. There, the lava continued to erupt, and 4 figures were swept out almost at the same time. These 4 figures were none other than the ice and fire ancestors, Dai Lu, and the ownerless broken sword, who had entered the lava after Du Xiaofu. After the 4 of them appeared, they looked like they were about to fall as they flew in the air. Obviously, they had been seriously injured and could not even control their bodies. After they came out, things were not over yet. Another figure followed them and flew out of the crater. It was the figure of a purple-robed young man. Unlike the 2 ancestors of ice and fire, this young man's entire body was surrounded by lightning. 7 bolts of spiritual thunder circled around him, making him look like a god that had descended into the world. His aura was extremely ferocious. Chapter 2583. Compared to the sorry state of the 2 ancestors of ice and fire, Dai Lu, and the ownerless broken sword, Du Xiaofu was in an extremely powerful state. Streaks of lightning circled around his body like divine dragons with their heads held high. They danced in the air and spat out divine light. A vast pressure spread throughout the area, pressing down on everyone's primordial spirits. His purple robes fluttered in the air as his figure floated through the air. He was like a sun rising in the night sky. Light radiated in all directions, illuminating the entire Yin Mountain. All of this took a long time to describe. From the explosion of fire in the lava space to everyone being thrown out of the volcano, to the appearance of the post-celestial void flame lightning, to everyone trying to stop it, only to be severely injured by the post-celestial void flame lightning, and finally Du Xiaofu's appearance. From beginning to end, only a few breaths of time had passed. Don't waste your energy. You won't be able to escape. As soon as Du Xiaofu appeared, a soft voice came out of his mouth. His gaze was fixed on the ball of black lightning that was rushing into the distance. It was the main body of the post-celestial void flame lightning. At that moment, the post-celestial void flame lightning had already shot out 1,000 miles. Its speed was extremely fast. However, after Du Xiaofu appeared, he didn't seem to be in a hurry to chase after it. Immediately after, the golden wings of the great rock behind him flapped gently. golden light filled the sky and covered his body. In the next instant, the purple-robed youth's figure had already disappeared from his original spot. Almost at the same time, he appeared in front of the post-celestial void flame lightning and intercepted it. Is this the technique of the legendary Great Rock Clan? This scene naturally fell into the eyes of the sacred demon temple, Heishui, and the other independent cultivators and demon spirits. Everyone had just heaved a sigh of relief because the post-celestial void flame lightning didn't take the opportunity to kill them. However, when they saw this scene again, they couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. They couldn't understand the situation in front of them. Why do I feel that something is wrong? I also feel that something is wrong. The heavenly flame void lightning seems to be fleeing for its life. Could that human brat called Du Xiaofu be chasing after the heavenly flame void lightning? This seems to be true. The experts began to discuss among themselves. After exchanging glances with each other, they were all dumbfounded. This was especially true for the few perfected Saint Demon stage experts. They were all extremely shocked. They were all peerless powerhouses, but they couldn't even block a single attack from the heavenly flame void lightning even if they worked together. From this, it could be seen how powerful the lightning was. However, that human brat from the outside world was able to force the heavenly flame void lightning to flee in panic. Could it be that even though the heavenly flame void lightning clearly had the upper hand when they tried to stop it, it only attacked and left? Could it be that it didn't attack them? This kind of result left everyone dumbfounded. Just how terrifying was Du Xiaofu? How could this be? Song Shan's skeleton, who was standing alone in a corner, was also extremely shocked as he watched this scene unfold in a daze. He had spoken rudely several times, insinuating that Du Xiaofu would die in the hands of the heavenly flame void lightning. However, he was shocked by Du Xiaoyao. Gradually, resentment towards Du Xiaofu and Du Xiaoyao rose in his heart. When the lava erupted earlier, the ice and fire ancestors, Dai Lu, and the ownerless broken sword had all returned with serious injuries. However, that human brat was nowhere to be seen. This caused Song Mountain Skeleton to feel extremely pleased. Even those supreme powerhouses couldn't get away. That human brat didn't appear for a long time. He must have died in the hands of the heavenly flame void lightning. However, what he saw now made Song Shan's skeleton feel even more terrified. Could it be that this scene of lava eruption was caused by that kid? Song Shan's skeleton muttered in fear. Perhaps this was the only explanation. One had to know that the extremely terrifying heavenly flame void lightning could only flee in the face of that purple-robed youth. Damn thing. Since when did you have the right to tell my boss what to do? At the side, Du Xiaoyao didn't show much emotion. After all, he had grown up with Du Xiaofu all these years and had seen too many unbelievable things. He was already used to it. He calmly looked at the terrified Song Shan skeleton and said coldly, "I've tolerated you for a long time. If I don't beat you up today, my name isn't Du Xiaoyao." As he spoke, a roar that shook the heavens erupted from his mouth, causing the void to collapse. Under this roar, the mountain range below broke and collapsed, turning into powder. Amidst the golden light, a huge redbone horseape occupied the void. It waved a palm that could cover the sky and the sun, and slammed it down on Song Shan's skeleton. Redbone horseape. His true form is a redbone horseape. The Song Shan skeleton's eyes flickered with a ghostly light, revealing an extremely shocked expression. Its ghostly face also changed color. In his heart, endless regret soared. He shouldn't have provoked these two people. Run! There was no need to think at all. He instantly retreated. During this process, his body transformed, and his emaciated body disappeared, turning into a snow-white skull. This skull was missing a lower jaw, and two faint green lights shone in its deep eye sockets. Waves of yin qi spread out, enveloping the skull as it fled. It swept down to the mountain range below, burrowed into the ground, and disappeared. "You think you can escape from me with just you?" Du Xiaoyao's loud voice resounded. His palm followed closely behind Song Shan's skeleton and slammed down on the ground where it disappeared. Boom! A terrifying shockwave spread out, piercing through the void and shattering it continuously. Endless soil, stones, and wood flew into the sky, covering everything. But in this scene, a beam of light emitting a sinister aura could be seen hurriedly shuttling through the smoke and dust, escaping into the distance. Soon, it disappeared from this area. Seeing this, Du Xiaoyao snorted coldly. The red-boned horse-ape moved his legs, and with a single step, he was hundreds of miles away. He disappeared into the distance with Zhang Shan's skeleton, disappearing without a trace. Sacred Demon Hall, Heishui He, and some other itinerant cultivators saw all of this and smiled bitterly at each other. What they had seen today had truly shocked them. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was much more terrifying than the legend said. And that wasn't all. This brother of his didn't seem to be much worse. Zhang Shan's skeleton was one of the strongest in the entire demon realm, but he could only be chased by the golden-robed youth. But not long after, while these people were still in shock, they saw Du Xiaoyao return once again. At this time, he had already returned to the appearance of a golden-robed youth. In one of his hands, he was holding a skeleton that had lost its luster. Only a weak aura of life could be felt from it. Zhang Shan's skeleton had actually been captured. Du Xiaoyao returned to the gathering place of the various forces with Zhang Shan's skeleton in his hand. However, he didn't take any further action. Instead, he turned his gaze to another battlefield in the distance. There, Du Xiaofu and the heavenly flame void lightning were fighting. Both of them had a trace of the embryonic form of the law of lightning. The scene of their battle was magnificent and terrifying. Under their control, bolts of lightning descended like a tsunami, causing the heavens and earth to seethe. After controlling the law of lightning, they didn't need too much Xian Qi to support them. With just a thought, they could summon an incomparably terrifying attack. Human, let me go. I promise that I won't have any ideas about your 7 spiritual thunders in the future. As for who can get the other spiritual thunders, it'll all depend on their own luck. How about it? In the battle, the heavenly flame void lightning's voice sounded, with a hint of compromise. The current situation was something that he could never have imagined. Originally, he had the absolute advantage and could take down this human youth and take the 7 spiritual thunders for himself. But unexpectedly, this purple-robed youth withstood the enormous pressure and inexplicably comprehended a trace of the law of lightning, causing the outcome of the battle to be reversed in an instant. Moreover, he couldn't escape even after using all his strength to escape and was easily intercepted by this young man. What right do you think you have to talk terms with me now? Du Xiaofu replied coldly without the slightest pity. He was determined to get the spiritual thunders. There was no room for negotiation. No matter what, he wouldn't let the heavenly flame void lightning leave. Moreover, he had the upper hand now. It could be said that he was suppressing him. There was no reason to talk terms. Boy, don't go too far. If you really want to force me, we'll fight to the death. Your strength is impressive, but it hasn't reached the level that I can't surpass. If you're smart enough, let me go. From now on, we'll mind our own business. The heavenly flame void lightning spoke fiercely, the threat thick. But at the same time, it revealed a hint of pleading. The purple-robed youth's strange spatial means appeared and disappeared unpredictably. He could completely ignore the obstruction of space and instantly appear in front of him to intercept. No matter how he fled, he couldn't shake it off at all. This was where the heavenly flame void lightning truly lost all hope. No need to talk about any terms. Whatever tricks you have, just use them. Du Xiaofu will receive them all. Du Xiaofu chuckled and waved his hand lightly. Lightning that filled the sky poured down from the sky, blasting fiercely towards the heavenly flame void lightning. He naturally saw through the heavenly flame void lightning's thoughts and also knew that the other party already felt fear. If it were before, Du Xiaofu did not comprehend the fledgling form of laws and was indeed not the heavenly flame void lightning's match. But now, the gap in cultivation realm disappeared. Relying on his various means, wanting to overcome this spiritual thunder was indeed not considered a difficult thing. Even if the other party wanted to self-detonate his demonic energy, he was also not afraid. Chapter 2584. Du Xiaofu's words immediately enraged the heavenly flame void thunder. At the same time, he also understood that the purple-robed youth was speaking the truth. There was absolutely no chance of reconciliation between the two of them today. It could only end with one side completely defeated. "Brat, you want to subdue me? Dream on." The heavenly flame void thunder roared. Its dark body emitted a blinding black light that penetrated all obstacles. This black light carried the power of thunder and was also mixed with blazing fire. It spread out in the void, causing the distant spectators of the holy monster temple, He Shui He, and the others to feel their bodies go numb. Every pore on their bodies opened up and sizzled electricity passed through their bodies. The circulation of their demonic energy was greatly hindered. The heavenly flame void thunder's attack was still guided by the laws of thunder. Endless black light scattered in the void and quickly condensed into an incomparably thick bolt of lightning. It was like a black river that stretched across the sky as it directly bombarded Du Xiaofu. "I don't have the time to play with you." A light shout came from Du Xiaofu's mouth. Then, the purple-gold heavenly tower was summoned. It swept out from between his eyebrows and expanded with the wind. The roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles erupted as a terrifying pressure swept through the world. Accompanying it was a heaven-piercing sword aura that manifested. This sword aura was formed from the combination of several different colored bolts of lightning. It was mixed with a purple-gold light and carried with it a power that could destroy everything. It was peerlessly domineering. The sword light was shaped like an azure dragon and also like a bolt of lightning. It twisted and wriggled in the void, and with a thunderous momentum, it fiercely collided with the river of black lightning created by the heavenly flame void lightning. Boom! A terrifying explosion reverberated. Large swaths of runes were shattered. Vast amounts of energy roared like a tsunami, collapsing everything. Heaven and earth seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. The mountain range below the two of them collapsed one after another, turning into rubble that filled the sky. The space was pierced through like a beehive, and densely packed holes appeared. It was incomparably terrifying. Violent energy poured out, sweeping in all directions. It shook the 9 heavens and shook the 9 hells, annihilating everything in its path. "Quick, retreat. Don't get hit by the shockwaves. This human youth strength is too terrifying. Pervert too perverted." In the distance, the people of the sacred monster palace, Blackwater River, and other forces saw this scene, and all of them started to flee. A few Sage Realm consummate experts took the lead, and they didn't even turn their heads back. They were afraid that they would be affected by this energy storm. Even several experts of the Sage Accomplished Realm would have been injured if they had been grazed by this energy tide. So, it was needless to say for those with weaker cultivations. Only Dai Lu, who was holding the feather fan in her hand, glanced back at the battlefield as she fled. His eyes flickered with a bright light. No one knew what he was thinking. The calmest of them all was Du Xiaoyao. Although he also retreated, he did not show too much shock. He was already used to Du Xiaofu's freakishness. However, there was a strange light flashing in the eye sockets of the skull in his hand. Even the skull, which had no flesh and blood, seemed to show an extremely frightened expression. This group of people quickly fled over 1,000 li away before stopping. They all looked at the place where Du Xiaofu was fighting with the heavenly flame void lightning with shock and horror. They saw the rain of stones passing by the purple-robed young man. His body paused in the air for a moment, and then he suddenly disappeared from where he was. This was not the first time that they had seen such a scene. All of them were mentally prepared. They all turned their eyes to the heavenly flame void lightning on the other side. At this time, Du Xiaofu's figure had already appeared in front of the dark ball of light. He was even faster than everyone could see. The heavenly flame void lightning was no longer as arrogant as it was at the beginning. When it saw Du Xiaofu coming to its side, an indescribable feeling of horror rose in its heart. Without thinking, its body suddenly began to swell violently, and an extremely vast aura burst out from it. A dangerous aura filled the air in an instant. It made people feel as if a terrifying lord had come to destroy everything. As long as he was angry, All the creatures in the world could only die. Oh no, the heavenly flame void lightning is going to go all out. This place is dangerous. Retreat again. Song shouted in the distance. In fact, there was no need for him to remind them. Everyone was aware that danger was coming, and they all fled into the distance again. The heavenly flame void lightning is extremely powerful. This time, it is going to explode its beast energy. I don't know if that human boy can withstand it. It's good that both of them are injured. Only in this way can the demon realm be peaceful. Yes, that human is really terrible. With him around, the demon realm will not be peaceful. If both of them are injured, we may have a chance to get the heavenly flame void lightning. The sacred demon palace does not want to get involved in the devil religion. I hope that boy will not push it too far. Everyone discussed in private as they fled. Previously, when they had joined forces, they had been injured by the heavenly flame void lightning. They knew how terrifying it was. If it really wanted to explode its beast energy, no one could escape if they were too close, including the purple-robed young man. Is it really going to go all out? Du Xiaofu murmured. He found that the heavenly flame void lightning's aura was constantly rising. It did not hesitate to consume its own cultivation to prepare for this attack, which made him feel a little threatened. If they were to fight head-on, the heavenly flame void lightning would not be inferior to Du Xiaofu even at this time. It was only because he had the space profound of the golden-winged great rocks that he had extreme speed that did not give the opponent the slightest chance to escape. This was why the heavenly flame void lightning was forced into such a situation. However, Du Xiaofu could see that the heavenly flame void lightning cherished its life very much. It would not explode its beast energy so easily. At most, it would fight until both of them were injured. Even so, if it was allowed to unleash its attack, it would probably cause Du Xiaofu serious injuries. At that time, both of them would be exhausted, and the heavenly flame void lightning would have a chance to escape. However, Du Xiaofu would not give it the chance to unleash its attack freely. As he spoke, he gently waved one hand. The silver net soul-devouring lightning, earth-shattering lightning, great in-sky lightning, and the other lightning bolts were guided. They whizzed out and attacked the heavenly flame void lightning at the same time. At the same time, the mysterious law brand on Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit constantly circulated with a strange power. It supported the 7 lightning bolts, causing them to display a power that was many times stronger than before. Boom, boom, boom. The 7 lightning bolts shone with terrifying light. They split up and surrounded the heavenly flame void lightning. Bolts of lightning surged and released arcs of electricity. As they connected with each other, they also connected with the heavenly flame void lightning, forming a strange diagram. This diagram overlapped with the law brand on Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit by a small portion. Its shape and trajectory were exactly the same. It was also because of this that Du Xiaoyao, Song, Cai Xiaoferi, Xue Tu, Dai Lu, Ownerless Broken Sword, and the others witnessed a strange scene. The heavenly flame void lightning, which had been constantly surging, suddenly seemed to be frozen under the encirclement of the other 7 lightning bolts. It did not undergo any further changes. At the same time, Du Xiaofu's actions seemed very strange. He did not continue to attack. Instead, he stood in front of the heavenly flame void lightning and gently closed his eyes. However, arcs of electricity constantly fluctuated from his body, mixed with purplish gold light. That frightening and dangerous aura had also vanished without a trace. It had suddenly disappeared from the world, causing everyone's tense bodies and nerves to relax for a moment. Wasn't the heavenly flame void lightning going to go all out? Why did it suddenly stop moving? It should have self-destructed. It would have been better if both sides suffered. It would have given the demon realm some peace and also give us a chance to subdue this lightning bolt. I'm afraid there's no chance. That human boy is too strange. The heavenly flame void lightning is about to be subdued by him. I'm interested to know what level he'll reach if he really subdues this lightning bolt. Everyone discussed and looked nervously at Du Xiaofu and the heavenly flame void lightning. The disappearance of the dangerous aura caused the rest of the people to stop running and look back. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, the Rock Emperor of the Desolate Country. He really lives up to his reputation. He's really powerful. Different from everyone else's reaction, Dai Lu's expression did not change at all. However, the words that came out of her mouth were filled with great admiration. The few people from the sacred demon palace did not notice Dai Lu's expression. Otherwise, they would have all been on guard. In the void in the distance, Du Xiaofu stood quietly with his eyes closed. In front of him, the strange pattern formed by the 8 lightning bolts was constantly rotating. There was a faint, mysterious connection between them, and they were constantly changing shape. Every time the pattern formed, it echoed with a part of the law imprint that was engraved in his mind. A mysterious power rose in the field, with the rhythm of nature and the trajectory of the changes of all things. In such a scene, time passed slowly. The 8 lightning bolts approached Du Xiaofu's body step by step until finally, they turned into a mass of colorful light and rushed into his glabella. At this time, Du Xiaofu still did not make any other movements. He still maintained his standing posture with his eyes closed. All the lightning on his body disappeared and drilled into his body. Not a trace of it leaked out. All of his aura was retracted, making him look incomparably ordinary. However, the more ordinary he was, the more unfathomable it was. All the onlookers felt that there was an indescribable strange fluctuation coming from the purple-robed young man. It was as if he was in harmony with nature, in harmony with heaven and earth, as if he had merged into one. Chapter 2585. The heavenly flame void lightning seems to be fusing with that human boy. He can fuse multiple spiritual lightnings at the same time. How did he do it? That's nothing. The aura coming from his body is really strange. It seems peaceful, but it makes people shrink back and don't dare to touch it. That's right. Even the Earth Demon Patriarch and the Blackwater Monarch didn't have such a situation. That kid, what kind of state did he enter? Many creatures from the demon realm watched and discussed among themselves. Du Xiaofu's performance was strange and strange. However, one thing was certain. The heavenly flame void lightning had been completely subdued by him and was fusing with him. As long as the fusion was successful, he would have 8 spiritual lightnings in his body. This kind of situation made everyone feel that it was inconceivable. If it were anyone else, they would have been blown to smithereens due to the conflicting attributes of the spiritual lightnings. Boss seems to be breaking through again. Du Xiaoyao carried Song Shan's skeleton's body in the crowd and whispered to herself, if Boss takes another step, he should be in the heavenly saint realm, right? What kind of realm would that be? Du Xiaoyao couldn't help but look forward to it. Due to the war in the primordial age, the heavenly axiom, the lords of the 3,000 major worlds, and the dragon god had helped to construct the eternal tomb. All the essence energy of this world was channeled through the array to suppress the demon god, causing the power of heaven and earth to weaken and even reach the point of exhaustion. Therefore, in this realm, other than those who had broken through to the heavenly saint realm before the primordial age, no one else could enter the heavenly saint realm. After the appearance of the eternal tomb and the demon god's escape, this pattern was broken. Among the countless creatures, more and more people entered the heavenly saint realm. However, to this day, no one had been able to break through the most powerful realm of the heavenly saint realm. This realm was the legendary heavenly saint realm. Even East Deity, West Demon, South Ru, North Addict, Central Divinity, and a few others hadn't recovered to their peak strength after the suppression between heaven and earth was lifted. If Du Xiaofu could step into the heavenly saint realm today, wouldn't he be the most powerful person in the world? Boss, you have to work harder. If you can be the first one to break into the realm of heavenly saint, as your brother, I will have a lot of face when I walk in the 3 continents and Kyushu realm. A devilish smile appeared on Du Xiaoyao's handsome face. Golden light flickered in his eyes. Under everyone's gaze, Du Xiaofu's calm and peaceful aura lasted for more than an hour. Within the mountain range, the morning sun rose and sprinkled down its radiance. It slowly illuminated the entire mountain range, revealing the mess everywhere. That was the result of the great battle. The morning sun shone on everyone and also on Du Xiaofu, who was standing in the air. It dyed his body golden and made him look mysterious. Just when everyone thought that he would continue to be calm, the purple-robed young man standing in the void suddenly opened his eyes. In the blink of an eye, 2 long and narrow bolts of lightning shot out from those eyes. Sizzle! The void was torn apart, and the 2 thunderbolts went straight into the crack in the void. No one knew where they went. As this happened, Du Xiaofu's body changed even more. His robe fluttered in the void even though there was no wind. The thunder martial vein appeared on the surface of his body and then rushed into the sky. It spread out like a huge net and covered a radius of a few hundred miles. The thick thunderbolts stretched across the void like strong ropes that were connected to each other. Like the previous 8 thunderbolts, they formed a mysterious pattern. At the same time, they resonated with Du Xiaofu's body. The 8 thunderbolts also rushed out and separated into 8 directions. They were embedded in the 8 meridian nodes of the thunder martial vein. Among them, the heavenly flame void thunder also existed. However, the heavenly flame void thunder did not have any intention of resisting. It was completely under Du Xiaofu's control. After the thunder martial vein and the 8 thunderbolts appeared one after another, endless thunderclouds suddenly gathered high in the sky and quickly covered the light of the morning sun. It was as if the night had come again. It was so dark that one could not even see one's own fingers. Boom, boom, boom. In the thunderclouds high in the sky, there were thunderbolts as thick as mountains rolling and flashing. They were like a terrifying dragon swimming in the sky. As the thunder dragon moved, the void rumbled and the whole world trembled. This scene caused the 2 ice and fire ancestors, Fairy Rosy Clouds, Song Song, the ownerless broken sword, Dai Lu, Blood Disciple, and the others, who were not far from Du Xiaofu, to feel their scalps go numb. Their backs couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat, drenching their clothes. However, all of this did not stop there. The thundercloud was still expanding, spreading to all directions. In an instant, it had spread to a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, and it showed no signs of stopping. Many places in the demon realm were covered. For a moment, countless demon spirits were shocked. They did not know what was going on. Boom, 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 boom. Thunderbolts struck down. The world seemed to be boiling. A vast pressure descended on the world, causing all the demon spirits to feel their hearts palpitate for no reason. As the thunderclouds continued to expand, all the creatures in the demon realm were alarmed. They all showed themselves and looked up at the sky. What's going on? It's so scary. Is the demon realm going to be destroyed? I'm afraid some unknown ferocious creature has appeared. But we can't escape. Everywhere is like this. There's nowhere to hide. Perhaps only by escaping from the demon realm can we avoid this disaster. But where is the exit of the demon realm? We don't know at all. The creatures in the demon realm panicked. They shouted and yelled anxiously, looking for a place to hide. However, what made everyone despair was that no matter where they ran, they could not escape the endless thunderclouds above their heads. The terrifying pressure swept down, causing everyone to tremble. Most of the demon spirits were below the demon emperor realm. They could not resist such pressure at all. Soon, they prostrated themselves on the ground and revealed their true forms. They turned into stones, trees, vines, and puddles of mud. The scene that Du Xiaofu had created was too shocking. Millions of miles away from the Yin Mountain where he was the most powerful force in the demon realm. There stood an ancient and mysterious palace. It was vast and majestic, and it emitted a strong demonic aura. On the high lintel of the hall, there were 3 incomparably bold words written on it: Sacred Demon Hall. When the thunderclouds that filled the sky spread to this place, the countless powerful creatures in the surroundings instantly sensed that something was wrong. The older demon spirits were at least at the demon venerable realm. Most of them were even at the demon domain realm. At the same time, there were also hundreds of sacred demon realm experts. At this time, these experts all put down the things in their hands or walked out of their respective cultivation places. They flew up into the sky and looked up nervously. Everyone's eyes were filled with endless confusion. However, Compared to the demon spirits in other places, the demon spirits here were a lot calmer. What's going on? Could it be caused by the demon god in the outside world? It shouldn't be. The war in the outside world hasn't spread to the demon realm yet. Looking at the source, it seems to be in the direction of the Een Mountain. Could it be that a terrifying demon lord is making a breakthrough? It's just that the movement caused by this is too big. What kind of realm did he break through to cause such a scene? Could it be? Everyone started to discuss. When the last person said the word, "Could it be?" everyone looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. They all knew that after the word, "Could it be?" the words, "Heavenly Saint Realm," were omitted. Below them, in the building of the sacred demon temple, there was a huge futon. However, on the futon, there was no one sitting cross-legged. Instead, there was a stone the size of a palm lying there quietly. Before the commotion outside could reach this place, the small stone on the praying mat emitted a faint glow. Soon after, the glow was quickly withdrawn. However, the moment such a change happened, they only felt a blur in front of their eyes, and the stone had disappeared. At the same time, an old man appeared out of thin air and stood on the ground with his hands behind his back. This old man had a head of white hair and no beard. His body and face looked tight, giving off an incomparably strong feeling. In those old eyes, there was a strong sense of determination. At a glance, one could tell that he was a person with a firm mind, and it was very difficult for his beliefs to be shaken by external affairs. When did such a strong person appear in the demon realm? He's actually comprehending the power of law and breaking through to the heavenly saint realm? The old man said, his tone not fluctuating too much. Although he was not calm in his heart and felt a certain degree of surprise, he did not show too much shock. As he spoke, the old man's figure flashed slightly and disappeared from the building of the sacred demon hall. In the next moment, he appeared in the sky above the sacred demon hall and stood side by side with the many strong people of the sacred demon hall. His appearance quickly attracted everyone's attention. The ancestor is here. Greetings, ancestor. Greetings, ancestor. Seeing the old man come out, everyone recovered from the shock and bowed to the old man one by one, not daring to show the slightest neglect. In the face of everyone's respect, the old man's expressionless face was still calm, as if he did not see them at all. He did not even make a sound of acknowledgement. He was so cold that it made one's hair stand on end. However, when the people next to him saw this scene, they did not seem surprised and straightened their backs after bowing to him. In the demon realm, in the sacred demon hall, there were only two people who were qualified to be called ancestor. They were the heavenly demon ancestor and the earth demon ancestor. However, the heavenly demon ancestor had disappeared for many years and had not been seen since. No one knew where he had gone or if he was still alive. Only a few people would occasionally hear the heavenly demon ancestor's name from the earth demon ancestor. It seemed that he still missed his old friend who had disappeared for many years. Therefore, strictly speaking, the real ruler of the sacred demon hall was the earth demon ancestor. Moreover, he had another name, the stone demon ancestor. This name was related to his body and his temperament. Ancestor, do you know the cause of this commotion? Someone came up to the old man and asked. Someone is breaking through. The stone demon ancestor answered concisely. However, the content of his words shocked everyone around him. What kind of person is breaking through? How could he attract thunderclouds thousands of miles away? It's like the end of the world. Since when was there such an elite in the demon realm? I don't think so. If there is such an elite in the demon realm, his strength should be above the ancestors. This person is definitely not a nobody. We should be able to guess it. The people discussed openly in front of the stone demon ancestor. As they spoke, they glanced at the old man. Could it be the one from the Blackwater River? Someone guessed. However, when this sentence was uttered, everyone present, with the exception of the earth demon old ancestor, was shocked. The one from the Blackwater River was naturally the Blackwater monarch. For many years, the sacred demon hall and the Blackwater River were at odds. They were like fire and water and could not tolerate each other. If the other party had not occupied the Blackwater River, they would have been wiped out by the sacred demon hall. If it was really the Black Water Monarch who had broken through, he must have comprehended the embryonic form of the law and had surpassed the complete sacred demon realm. Judging from the current commotion, it was very likely that the Black Water Monarch had broken through to the heavenly saint realm. When that happened, the balance between the two parties would be broken and the sacred demon hall would be at a disadvantage. Given the Black Water Monarch's wild ambition, he would definitely not allow the sacred demon hall to exist. This kind of result made everyone feel nervous. "It's not him. It's someone else," the stone demon ancestor said flatly. When the people heard this, they instantly heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it was not the Black Water Monarch, it was not a bad thing for the sacred demon hall. After all, the entire demon realm was under the control of the sacred demon hall. No one dared to challenge the authority of the sacred demon hall. However, in the next moment, doubts arose in the hearts of the people. Other than the Black Water Monarch, who else had the strength to see the truth of the law? One should know that in the entire demon realm, after the disappearance of the heavenly demon ancestor, the strongest person was the stone demon ancestor and the Black Water Monarch. Could it be that there was another demon spirit who had surpassed these two peerless figures and reached the heavenly saint realm first? If there was such a person, it would be impossible for no one to know about it. However, no matter how hard the people scratched their heads, they could not figure out who it was. "I thought of someone." Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, an old man at the peak of the Saint Demon stage spoke up. As soon as he spoke, everyone turned to look at him. "Who is it?" someone asked eagerly. "I just received news that two people had appeared not far from the seal of the demon realm's entrance. These two people came from the outside world. I'm sure everyone is familiar with their names," the complete sacred demon realm elder said. "Two people from the outside world? Who are they?" someone asked. "These two people are extremely famous in the outside world, and their names have spread throughout the entire 3 continents and 9 continents. One of them is a demon spirit, and he's the legendary red-bone horse monkey. He's young, but his strength is incomparably terrifying. The other person is also young, but even more terrifying. According to the news from the younger generation of the Sacred Demon Palace, this person is called Du Xiaofu, the Rock Emperor of the Barren Country. He's also known as the Demon King. Du Xiaofu is less than 30 years old, but he has reached the peak and is looking down on the world. Even the strongest of the older generation is no match for him. Everyone in the outside world knows about his ferocious name. After they entered the demon realm, they inquired about the situation of the forces in the demon realm. After that, they appeared in Billow City, but they seemed to have found out something and went to Yin's End Mountain. The old man said a lot in one breath, without even pausing in the middle. After he finished speaking, some of the people around him were puzzled, while others were stunned. Even the Earth Demon ancestor, who was standing on the side, raised his eyebrows. If this is the case, I'm afraid it's not far from the truth. Yin's End Mountain. There's news that a spiritual thunder has appeared there. Song Song, the 2 ancestors of ice and fire, Rosy Cloud's fairy, and the others have already rushed there. It's said that one of the strongest ultimacies that Du Xiaofu has mastered is the thunder ultimacy. It's reasonable that he went for the spiritual thunder. With such a commotion, I'm afraid that Song Song and the ice ancestor have failed. The spiritual thunder in Yin's End Mountain must have fallen into Du Xiaofu's hands. That makes sense. Du Xiaofu must have used the spiritual thunder to break through and step into the heavenly saint realm. The crowd started discussing again. Under the inference of the old monsters, it was exactly the same as the truth. The Demon King Du Xiaofu, the Barren Country's Rock Emperor, and the Redbone Horse Ape. Why did these two come to the demon realm? I don't know if his arrival is a blessing or a curse for the entire demon realm. The Demon King Du Xiaofu is fighting the devil religion to the death in the outside world. I'm afraid he's plotting something against the demon realm. No matter what his purpose is, if he's a hindrance to the demon realm, we can't let him have his way so easily. But if he's really broken through to the heavenly saint realm, who in the demon realm can stop him? Many people began to worry. They were afraid that the Demon King's arrival would cause unimaginable turmoil in the demon realm. Impossible. At this time, Ancestor Wanshur spoke again. This time, it was rare for him to say so much. I've heard of the Demon King Du Xiaofu's name. But it's impossible for him to break through to the Heavenly Saint realm in one go. Even during the primeval times, such a realm was an existence that was extremely difficult to attain. But judging from the thunderclouds in front of us, to be able to cause such a huge commotion, his strength after breaking through must be terrifying. He might even be a half-step Heavenly Saint. If that's the case, it's indeed terrifying. Chapter 2586. Half-step Heavenly Saint, someone murmured, as if imagining what kind of terrifying realm it was. As the name implied, half-step Heavenly Saint was half a step into the Heavenly Saint realm, and it was only a short distance away from the final realm. It could also be said that as long as one reached the half-step Heavenly Saint realm, the final Heavenly Saint realm would be achieved naturally under continuous accumulation. The height of half-step Heavenly Saint realm was like a high mountain in the eyes of a perfected Saint realm powerhouse, and it was difficult to reach. Everyone from the sacred demon palace fell into silence. After the Earth Demon Grand Ancestor finished speaking, he did not pay attention to them. Instead, his figure flickered and disappeared without a trace. The Grand Ancestor has left. He must have gone to the Een Mountain. Let's go and take a look. Let's go. Many powerhouses also moved one after another, disappearing from the sky and rushing to the Een Mountain. 6 million miles south of the sacred demon temple, there was a large river that flowed from west to east. Unlike other rivers, the water of this great river was not clear and green, flowing quietly, nor was it surging and roaring. Instead, it was a scene of tranquility. Occasionally, 1 or 2 pitch-black bubbles would roll up, like ink. There were almost no fish living in the large river. However, on both sides of the river, there were many trees and vegetation that looked very strange, and it was very different from what one could see in other places. Once ordinary creatures approached this place, there would be a gust of death chi in the air that would enter their bodies and erode their bodies and souls. Such a large river had a name that everyone in the demon realm knew. It was not much weaker than the sacred demon temple, the strongest force in the demon realm, because its name was Black Water River. At this moment, the thunderclouds that had spread out from the direction of Een Mountain quickly covered the area as well. They covered the sky, causing the meandering Black River below to become even darker and gloomier. The thunderclouds that filled the sky kept rolling and surging, oppressing the entire space to the point that it became oppressive. The branches and leaves of the trees on both sides of the river began to sway. The trees moved without wind, and soul power fluctuated from their bodies as they spied on the sky. Not long after, in the stagnant Black Water River, a part of the river suddenly rose up, like a giant's robe, and like a huge bubble on the river surface, it was as tall as a mountain. When this black bubble appeared, the trees on both sides of the river moved again, and the top of the branches bent as if bowing to this bubble. Greetings, my lord. The trees were speaking in human language. Rise. A loud voice came from the bubble, and it was clear and domineering. Then, the shape of the huge bubble changed. Lord was a middle-aged man in a black robe, standing in the void. The black-robed man was neither fat nor was he thin, was his face. And his face was it? A green beard was added a domineering aura. His eyes, which were shining brightly, were currently looking towards the north, brimming with vigor. Breaking through to the Heavenly Saint realm? What kind of person has such ability? The middle-aged man's eyes were burning, and he whispered to himself, "Is it that old, stinky, and hard rock? It doesn't seem like it." After the man stood quietly for a while, he suddenly rushed into the distance, and his clothes were taut in the wind, flapping loudly. At the same time, an unquestionable voice came from his body and landed on both sides of the Blackwater River. "Everyone, guard the Blackwater River. Don't leave. This seat is really curious about such a powerhouse." The last sentence was more like he was talking to himself. When this sentence was covered by the oppressive air, the man's figure also disappeared into the sky, and not a single fluctuation could be detected. And mountain. The great battle from before had turned this vast area into ruins. Lightning flashed in the sky, illuminating the broken mountain range and causing it to flicker between light and darkness. The thunderclouds in the sky were very low. Standing on the ground, it seemed that one could reach them with one hand. Two ancestors of ice and fire, Song Song, fairy rosy clouds, ownerless broken sword, Dai Lu, blood disciple, and the others all descended from the void and landed on the mountain rocks. Little demon Du also carried Song Shan's skull and stood on the ground. Only Du Xiaofu was still high up in the sky. Above his head, the endless thunderclouds were tightly clinging to him. The thunder martial vein and the 8 spiritual thunders were distributed around him, covering an area of tens of thousands of miles. Powerful energy was gathering from all directions, and it was bound in the area covered by the thunder martial vein. The sky was sinking, and the earth was steaming. Through a faint connection, they were flowing into Du Xiaofu's body. Under this effect, a fierce and monstrous majesty kept growing in his body, as if it had triggered the power of heaven and earth. Endless energy kept pouring into the purple-robed young man's body. Following that, the aura emitted from Du Xiaofu's body became more and more vast. In the end, waves of energy condensed into liquid form and flowed into his body. The energy seemed gentle and harmless, and it was extremely pure. Once it was absorbed into the body, it could greatly improve one's cultivation. But no one dared to do so. The two ancestors of ice and fire, Rosy Cloud's fairy, Dai Lu, ownerless broken sword, and the others all felt their eyelids twitch. Everyone understood in their hearts that this was caused by that human brat. If they forcefully touched and plundered it, that gentle energy would instantly become incomparably violent, possessing absolute killing power. They had no doubt that if they had lived long enough, they could go to the purple-robed young man and they would definitely end up with nothing left. The ultimate destination of all living creatures in this world is the heavenly saint realm. I'm afraid that this human boy will really become the first heavenly saint realm expert since the Archean Age. Ice ancestor of the two ancestors of ice and fire looked up and murmured, "No, how can the heavenly saint realm be so easy to reach? It requires mastering a part of the power of law." Based on his previous battle with the heavenly flame void thunder, his cultivation is indeed at the consummate saint realm. Then, he suddenly comprehended and mastered some embryonic forms of the power of law. Therefore, this breakthrough is only one step on the path of the consummate saint realm. He is only a thin layer away from the heavenly saint realm. Song Song denied. He found it hard to imagine that it was almost impossible to break through from the consummate saint realm to the heavenly saint realm. I'm afraid there will be an unexpected surprise. I think that he can reach the half-step heavenly saint realm. Chapter 2587. I'm afraid there will be an unexpected surprise. I think he will be able to reach the half-step heavenly saint realm this time. Suddenly, Dai Lu, the archenemy of the sacred demon palace, took over Song Song's words and said with a smile. In the face of Dai Lu's words, Song Song, the two ancestors of ice and fire, did not refute. After the shock, they fell silent and seemed to be looking forward to it. Half-step heavenly saint realm. That means he's half a step into the heavenly saint realm. It's only a matter of time before he reaches the real heavenly saint realm. This human should be quite young. I didn't expect him to be so terrifying. Rosy Cloud's fairy raised her lotus foot and gently took a step forward, saying. Her beautiful eyes, which were looking at the purple-robed young man, flickered with a strange light. Du Xiaoyao, who was standing to the side, did not speak. He knew very little about the heavenly saint realm, even less than Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaoyao's golden eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu, who was standing in the air. His fists couldn't help but clench tightly, and the Tsang mountain skeleton's body in his hand was clenched so tightly that it made a creaking sound. It was obvious that he was somewhat nervous. Over the years, he knew Du Xiaofu's experience better than anyone else. All the burdens were on his boss's shoulders. now that the great calamity of the devil religion was imminent. If they did not have enough strength, when the devil god fully recovered, everyone would die without a burial place. His boss was the person chosen by the master of the 3,000 sectors and the dragon god. Every increase in his strength would bring more hope to the living beings of this world. It should be known that even though the devil god was also greatly suppressed in this world, he still had the peak strength that the living beings of this world could reach, the complete heavenly saint realm. If no one could stand up and lead the living beings with a disdainful attitude to stop the great calamity, then this world could only be turned into a sea of blood and become a devil's realm. Boss, you must do your best, Du Xiaoyao said quietly. In Yinju Mountain, Du Xiaofu's transformation was still ongoing. In Kyushu, the Tianhuang continent, the Chenhuang continent, the Ancient Wastelands continent, and the Beast Realm, all living beings were busy with matters of cultivation. However, all of a sudden, some of the supreme experts suddenly felt a trace of fluctuation that continuously entered their senses. At a place where the gloomy baleful aura gathered, there stood a figure that was as tall as a mountain. This figure just stood there quietly, but it made people feel palpitations and fear for no reason. Thick demonic energy fluctuated from his body, and the terrifying smell of blood filled the world. If one looked closely, they would be able to see mountains of corpses, seas of blood flowing, demons slaughtering, living creatures wailing, and remnant souls howling. As soon as the commotion from the demon realm reached here, the mountain-like figure moved. He gently twisted his body, and the void rumbled as if mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. Soon, several figures flew over, stopped in front of the figure, and bowed respectfully. In front of the huge figure, these people were as insignificant as ants in front of an elephant. Lord Demon God. Several figures called out in unison, incomparably respectful. I can sense that the seal of the demon realm has been broken. That kid has become even stronger. The huge figure slowly spoke, and his voice resounded through the 9 heavens. Lord, that kid's breakthrough will definitely bring an even greater obstacle to our devil religion. Why don't we take advantage of the time when he's breaking through to kill him? Someone below said. This time, I will personally make a trip to the demon realm. The fluctuations from there made me feel a familiar aura. It's exactly what I need to recover. The demon god stared into the distance and said, Recovery item. Could it be? The person who spoke earlier spoke again. Go and prepare. Last time, we didn't get the Cosmos pouch. This time, that kid happens to be in the demon realm. We can use him to open that secret place. We can't fail again. The more time we waste, the more variables our devil religion will face. The demon god said. Several figures below responded in unison and then quickly retreated. Desolate Country, Stone City. Medicine Saint Yi Wuming was originally explaining some matters to some of the Desolate Country's disciples, but he suddenly felt an unusual movement. He didn't even have time to greet them before he suddenly rushed into the palace hall. When he arrived, there was already an exquisite figure standing there. Yi Wuming glanced over and saw a peerlessly sharp sword floating above the hall. It was Du Xiaofu's Ba'ing, the Desolate Country's seal of the Desolate Country. At this moment, the Ba'ing was shining with golden light, and there were 9 huge golden dragon phantoms coiling around it. A vast amount of dragon chi was constantly being absorbed by it. Along with it, the aura in the entire hall was rising, and Yi Wuming felt like he was about to suffocate. He wanted to kneel before the Ba'ing. Lady Hunji, what happened? Why did the Ba'ing undergo such a change? Yi Wuming took a few deep breaths to calm his emotions before asking the exquisite figure. The strength of the woman in front of him was much higher than his. Furthermore, she had been ordered by Du Xiaofu to stay in the Desolate Country to prevent the devil religion from attacking. Therefore, even with Yi Wuming's status, he was very polite to this woman. Hunji's beautiful eyes were shining with a peerless brilliance. I sensed a huge movement coming from the demon realm. It seems like someone is breaking through. Hunji retracted her gaze and smiled gently at Yi Wuming as her red lips parted slightly. She also had respect for this old man who controlled almost all the trivial matters of the Desolate Country. At the very least, she was much nicer than Du Xiaofu. Breaking through? Who is breaking through? How can the commotion be transmitted to the Kyushu? Yi Wuming was stunned when he heard this, and he looked at her in disbelief. Didn't that kid go to the demon realm? He should have arrived a long time ago. Hunji said, and a ripple appeared in her large seductive eyes. You mean, Yi Wuming was even more stunned. He naturally knew who the kid, Hunji, was referring to, but he still didn't dare to believe it. However, Hunji pursed her red lips and motioned for him to look at the buying. Then, Yi Wuming seemed to have been petrified as he stood there in a daze. After a long while, he came back to his senses and said uncertainly, could it be that the kid is breaking through to the Sky Saint realm? Otherwise, how could there be such a huge commotion? I don't know either, but it should be. Hunji said, but then she suddenly turned her gaze to the boundless void and said in an abnormally serious tone, the demon god seems to be moving. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.